she's a fucking delight. Trial watching, trials and tribulations. It's Camp Shorty calling all nations. What are you drinking? Shall we skip this part? Left or right-handed? Shit, she slid it to the start. She's a fucking professional. Yo, goddamn it. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, face breaks, staying hydrated. It's Shorty time. She's a fucking delight. Psychology corner. Let's learn about stuff. New Miss Shorty music. Calling their bluff. Best best community. We've got the best minds. A safe, supportive sanctuary full of fun and love. Rock out with your cats out. Curse all you want. And here at Camp Shorty, we even say God. She's a fucking professional, you goddamn it. You're muted, what? And daring, it's iconic. Cheese breaks, face breaks, staying hydrated. It's Shorty time, she's a fucking delight. Hey, Shorties, what's going on? Get in here, Shorties. Let's fucking go. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Camp Shorty. Childish bullshit, come on now. I think you need a timeout. Expected so much more from you. Pull up, bitch, fuck round, find out. Can't turn back time, you made that choice. Decision in one moment. We live with it, the both of us. And boy, it sucks now, don't it? The door is open, it's gone south. Thought you were sitting pretty. A giant leap right off the plank. You're swimming in the petty. Not sure what you expected, how you thought that I'd react. My moving on, my level head. Was I supposed to want you back? Roller coaster of our love, destruction and betrayal. You slink away, then strike right back, legs covering your tail. The door is open, it's gone south. Thought you were sitting pretty. A giant leap right off the plank. You're swimming in the petty. Hashtagging me, use all the words. Aggressive, mean and cruel. I will not take it personal. That shit reflects on you. I rise above, I turn my cheek. Refuse to stoop to that. A giant leap right off the plank. You're swimming in the petty. All the best, I won't look back. So long, goodbye, farewell. The door's open, it's gone south. Thought you were sitting pretty. A giant leap right off the plank. You're swimming in the petty. Have fun with being petty. Miss me.
Hey, Shorties! Yikes! Yes, Nick, the new double song thing. It's a thing. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Wait, I didn't check my mic. Fuck. All that time. Did I check it? No. Are we good? We're good. How are you, Shorties? It feels like I haven't seen you in a long time. Britt, hi. Good to see you. Thanks for joining, everyone. I see Colours Flight. She went via Uzbekistan. My godfather, you two lovebirds. Here, I'll play this in retrospect. because Nick Francis is fantastic.
There's nothing I like better than snuggling up in a foxhole, discussing the mechanisation of Russian agriculture and listening to some shorty tunes.
Not surprisingly, Poppy is also here. Hi, Poppy. Good to see you. Long time no see, Poppy. Hi, Poppy. I'd like you to come on this side. Come on this side. Then I can do my mouse. Poppy, can you come on this side? This side, this side, this side. Say hi on this side. Good girl. Then I can do my mouse and pat you. I can multitask. Dave T from Boston. Hi, I got a new haircut. I did do it myself. Yikes. It was an impulse buy. Hi, what the fuck? Macrame Chameleon. Colors. Hi, Simi. I saw. Wait, Steph. Pokemomo's here. Shelly. Pokemon. Macrame Chameleon says, I love that we can listen to the music so much more and so much better sound now. Same. Poppy's got a crocodile. You're bumping the microphone, Poppy. He's so excited. She's got her emotional support crocodile. That's really cute, darling. It's bumping the microphone, though. I'm so professional. Steph, don't apologize. Phone calls matter. I'm glad it was you, not me, because I'm not a fan of phone calls. I mean, with some people, yes, but in general, yes, Nick. Poppy, this side, this side, this side. Poppy, big girl, big side, other side. Poppy, she's like, no, but love me more. I love you the mostest, Poppy, but not right now. Just my hands for doing my live streaming. Down you get. Come on the other side. Buster says, yeah, but the other side's my side. My side on the other side. Hey, yes, the sound quality is great. It's so good, Joey. Thank you so much for everything you do for the Shorties, for me. Hi, everyone, says Britt. Nick, is that you? Yes. Here. Yes, that's Nick. Nick's been recruited, if you will, as a colonel in the coalition to do some voiceovers.
Good for them. I'm happy. But I just want to make sure that I am still held in the highest esteem of the system. It's not a deal breaker, but I'd like to know. Thank you.
Hi, Patricia. Matilda's back. Hi, all. Don't forget. Oh, now I've got dog slobber on me. It's lovely. Don't forget, any super chat, super sticker, buy me a coffee, PayPal, new membership, gifted memberships go in the draw for next weekend to win a T-shirt off the merch store. Yes, the merch store. Tumblers are amazing. So good. Metal straw, love, 1010. This is one of mine, came yesterday. They come really quickly. I ordered this like a week and a half ago. It's a magnet. Oh my God. It's very hard for me. Camp Shorty, love. I think I ordered the biggest size. Beautiful quality. Beautiful quality. What else we got? I feel like there's other things. I've got stickers, but they're somewhere else. Have I got more things? Oh, mugs. I'm getting the wine glass, Matilda. Oh my God. I probably need 4 of them. Highest esteem, Nick. Nick, you are held in the highest esteem. There is no question. There is no question. Forever in the highest esteem. And Nick's still alive with the cyclones, so that's fantastic. What are we doing today, chat? Shorties, what are we watching? Tonight. It's tonight for you. It's quite late in the night for you. You have daylight savings beginning tomorrow, right? Yes, Steph. We all a little bit of a Nick saying it's not a deal breaker, but he'd like to know. Thanks, right? Tonight, it's part 2 of probably more, many of the why some women attract manipulators. The first one, if you'll recall, was with we stand him in the beginning, the dirty CIA agent with the hair. I liked what he had to say, and then he started to mansplain stuff a little bit, and we went off him a little bit. This guy, Robert Greene, is quite delightful. I do want to reach around and fix his collar because he's wearing a cardigan, which is cute, and he's very lovely. It's not so much about, like, there's nothing about Dirty John in this one, for example. It's not so much. It's the boys might get some stuff out of it too. Yes, but it's fucking Saturday. It is. Wait, what? You know what I'm confused about is that I'm pretty sure I know you spring into spring and you fall into fall. So your clocks go forward. So that means what is your 5 p.m. or your 6 p.m. will then be your 7 p.m. So I'm not sure what that means. The time for me tomorrow is to do my 6 Eastern live stream. I've had some issues. Last time, my daylight savings or yours, something, everyone was like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Well, fuck, I don't know. I have another hour, right?" Because my StreamYard didn't know that you had daylight saving change. Hi, RN Homestead. Good to see you. Correct. But still the calculating of it all. Luckily, I'll be up very early. I'll have to get up earlier just in case. Oh, on a Sunday, I'm going to get up at 3 o'clock because I think I have a feeling that I'm going to have to be ready earlier. It's a whole thing. It's definitely still Saturday there. It's Sunday here, and I have the day off work tomorrow. So off from the peasant work shit. Boom. I'll take a breath, and then I don't know why this is weird. Like something to do with my fringe, my bangs, I think. Shall we start watching it? We'll pause. We'll have song breaks. How does daylight savings work out of the US? The same. Spring into spring, fall into fall. Different though. Like as in our daylight savings ends because we're coming at the end of our summer. It's autumn here now. In another couple of weeks. Let me check. Excuse me. I think it's in April here. Let me check. Daylight savings. Can't type. Daylight savings. 2025. Fall or fall. The first Sunday in April. Thanks, Joey. That wasn't terrifying in my ears at all when I was concentrating. It's the first weekend of April for us. So I do have a world clock, but that doesn't help me with scheduling my StreamYard. Oh, Simi! Girl! Oh, so many videos. Fuck. Scrolling. Yes! And you're on the list. I have a world clock. I know exactly what time it is in Boston all the time, but changing the time fucks with me. Not a surprise. Time, what even is time? For someone who has a very severe case of time blindness. Simi, you're in the door.
Shawty, swing my way. Swing it over here, shawty.
Joey. Back it off, Joey. Please and thank you. Okay. You did it, Simi. Fucking oath. That is way too much maths. I did it. Now you can type 69. You can type hey shorties. She's typing all of them. It's very much easier, right? It's very much easier. Spring into spring, fall into fall. That's the best way. I'm still getting used to daylight savings lasting half a year. It didn't used to be shorter. Didn't it used to be shorter? Joey, that was not a mouse slip. What about the bong rip? Was the bong rip a mouse slip? Suck my dick, Joey. Okay. Yeah. I don't know anything, Britt, about anything, particularly about time. All I know is that I just had to pay a fine that I never got a notification for. Wait, Americans, you will be in shock and horror about this. I got a text message from Vic, something to do with Victoria, that's the state I live in, voting, right? Apparently, I know I didn't, because I didn't realize that there was an election on, because it was in 2018 and it was the year that broke me. So I didn't vote. And I think it was a local council or something election. I just got a text message last week saying, if you don't pay this $302 fine for not voting, if I didn't pay it, I was going to get legal fucking proceedings. So I paid it. Fuck my life. Nick, semantics. It doesn't have the same ring to it. We all know that fall is autumn. It's just easier. If you can think of a rhyme that helps you remember which way to put the clocks at the end of daylight savings that rhymes with autumn. I didn't vote, man. I didn't even know there was an election. It was in 2018. That's 7 years ago. I got fined $300 fucking dollars. Right? You have to vote in Australia. Yeah, see, I'm not going to be doing any of that. It sounds like no, it's not a scam. It's not a scam. It's not a scam. That is Australia. Fall back, spring forward. So you fall into fall. The clocks go backwards in fall. Autumn. Yes, Nick. No, it's not a scam. It's not a scam. Trust me. It's not a scam. It was legit. I remember that I didn't vote. I knew, but I've never gotten a single gosh. I've never gotten a single notification, not an email, not a text, not a letter. I mean, I've moved around a lot, but my email's the same. Having said that, my email account does have 69,000 emails in there, and it's to 99% capacity. I'm just going to delete them all. Shall we, chat? 16 minutes of bullshit. I can give you 20 if you want. Legit. This guy, look how cute he is. Oh, I love him. He's talking about the art of seduction. I'm not sure if he's the right man for it, but he wrote a book. It's called The Art of Seduction. I've heard of it. Haven't read it. Nick, have you? Is it about foxholes?
The moment she pursues you in any way, it's over. You've seduced.
Actually helps as part of the seduction.
Now, what shocked you about that?
I just thought it would be maybe like if someone's a little prudish, it may be like a turn off, like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And people can sometimes almost be offensive more than it is like intriguing.
I'll put the subtitles, closed captions.
Seduction involves by nature an element of transgressive and taboo. So the word itself has this kind of edge to it, where we're sort of attracted to it, but we're also a little bit afraid of it. It's like something, it could be.
So I know it seems a little bit like an oxymoron. Is that the right word? There's some cognitive dissonance here that this guy is going to tell us about the art of seduction. Walk and talk, chat. I want to fix his collar in his cardigan. I mean, I feel like maybe Alessi might look like this in 10, 15 years. He wrote a very popular book. It was a few years ago now. I promise you. I also promise you that the dirty CIA guy was good. So, but why is it in the middle? Fuck.
It's the right kind of insecurities, just the right kind of vulnerabilities that they can prey upon. And for them, that would make the perfect victim. Seduction depends on the fact that people lack something in their life, right? And you are going to be the one supplying them. They're missing something, okay?
Chat. I'm just going to say, shall we not judge a book by its cover? Get it? Book, Seduction. I've watched this. I think it's really good. I'm also like single for the last 25 years, except for 2 fucking nightmare men. Men, I use that term loosely. So maybe I'm not quite on the ball with it, but shall we? You guys can just talk. It's fine. We can rib him. I'm sure Lisa's got some big chunky jewelry on that you all are going to have an issue with. It'd be very expensive. I wonder if it's Wonder Woman. Let's see.
The word for love, eros, and the erotic comes from the god who shoots an arrow into someone and wounds them and poisons them, right? So
wait, Lisa's wearing black fuck me boots and an open top in a shirt in an interview with an old man about the art of seduction. Girl, what you doing? She's wearing a gym top.
Falling in love and seducing is creating a wound in the other person. They need you. You're going to fill what they can't get on their own. So somebody who is completely happy in their life, who's got everything they want, is very hard to seduce. Now, if you're a great seducer, a top-level seducer, you will always find something that people are missing. Nobody is completely happy.
Shelley.
Even the very happiest person actually is probably covering up something. And so you'll be able to find that. But the woman who reveals that she's unhappy, that she's got vulnerabilities, that she's been wounded before, and there's something missing in her life, that's like, whew, I can ride right through that. I can be the one to supply. I can be the one to make her happy. They're much easier to seduce.
Okay, and you also say that people with imagination, talk to me about what the impact of having an imagination if a woman has one versus if she doesn't.
Chat is bad.
So The trick in seduction, of male or female seduction, is when you're not there, the other person is thinking about you. That is when you've succeeded. That is the game that you're trying to play. Because when you're there, they're seeing you and things are going on, they're thinking about you. But when you're absent and they're thinking about you, then
That's
you've
okay.
gotten under their skin.
You're in the right place, Akasha.
If you're not there and they're not thinking about you, then your seduction isn't working, right? So
also, the last time we did this part 1 of this series, why some women fall for manipulators, something words. Chat basically turned on me because of my selection of video to watch, and by the end, I was very heavily agreeing with them. You can joke, that's fine. That's fine. I don't understand why she's wearing a gym top. It's like she went. I don't know. We love Lisa Bilyeu. Okay, she's got 1.34 million subscribers. They can't be wrong.
The whole point is to create a fantasy in which they're going, One of the things I talk about is creating mixed signals. Like, people seem to be good, but they also show a little bit of an evil sign.
Whose
And
figures?
so the woman is thinking, who is this man? Do I really know him? What is he really about?
A little bit.
I'm intrigued. And he's sort of touched on certain fantasy and points, and her imagination now takes over. She starts thinking about him. She starts imagining him as if he could be playing one of these great archetypes of the male seducer, right? He could be the rescuer. He could be the hero. And so because she has an imagination, a vivid imagination, she's enveloping him in all of these fantasies from her point of view. And so if the male seducer knows how to feed a little bit her imagination so that when he's not there, she starts enveloping him in this. There's the great writer Stendhal, the French writer who wrote a book called
Jesus, fuck Candy.
He compared it to these limbs of trees that have been dropped into this mine, this crystal
you're
mine
amazing.
in Germany. And when they pull them out, they're full of crystals. And he calls falling in love this crystallization method, where in your mind, crystals are forming, where you're imagining this person is fantastic and has all these fantasy elements. Well, if the woman has no imagination, is so matter of fact and so businesslike, you could do all of the tactics in the art of seduction, and she won't be thinking about you. She won't be enveloping you in these fantasies.
What's interesting then in that
Pat, you are
imagination,
brutal.
I wonder if
Brutal
it's
for that.
even worse in today's society, because you've got social media. People look online before they go on a date and they see photos of somebody, and
What's
then
a
they have
spinner,
this whole
Mika?
imagination
Micah.
of what that person looks like. If that person then that's got this wild imagination where they see, let's say, a guy with a dog, and they're like, oh my God, he loves dogs. We're going to come together. We're going to have this dog.
Chat. Okay, from now on, only what Colours tells me to play out of these series, because Colours gave me last week's one, and I think we liked that one, didn't we? What was last week? I can't even remember. Oh, it was Laura Richards. That was good, right? Okay, Colours, from now on, you're my advisor on the Lisa Bilyeu stuff, okay? God damn it, chat. I'm just trying to fill Camp Shorty with stuff I'm interested in. Look at her fingers. What is she doing? That's a pause. Nick's hoping that she's grabbing his something. Oh, okay. I'm trying really hard to be a good YouTuber, chat.
Dog family, like he's my person. And that whole idea of the imagination before you've even gone on the date is even more dangerous now.
Probably. You're talking to somebody a little bit older. I mean, a lot older. But so I'm back in the day where I had to go to a bar, or I had to go,
Me
actually
too.
had the cojones to go pick up a woman, right? I didn't have all this crap. So yeah, if you're a male seducer, you know how to create that fantasy.
I'm just going to say straight off the bat, if there was a line of guys in a room, maybe not his age, but that same posture and that outfit, this is the guy I think was the cutest. I'm not kidding. I know you all think I should be like sliding back into Joe Tacopina's DMs. This is more my type. Sorry, not sorry. I said what I said. I don't think he's incel. God damn, chat.
Fantasy by having a picture of holding a little cat. Oh, he's so sensitive and wonderful, or a dog, you know, and creating this kind of image that's going to feed women's imagination. She's hooked. He's got the little hook in her. You can take her wherever he wants. So using that and being very clever with how you present yourself with the image and the words that go with it, you can feed that imagination factor.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually pulled out, so you have a seduction process in your book, and I've pulled out some of the ones that I just find
Please.
utterly fascinating that I would love to really talk about.
This book was an absolute bestseller with the incels, okay? Tens of thousands of men around the world cannot be wrong. Let's just open your minds, chat.
Right.
So number 2, actually, I only got to number 2.
We've got 24 to go.
Yeah, I know. Well, I pulled out. I was going to go through all of them, Robert, and I was like, if only I could keep you here for multiple hours, I would, because I adore you so much. But what we've done is I've just pulled out like the ones that I think my audience would really find powerful.
It was a bestseller.
So, number 2, which is create a false sense of security.
So when a man's trying to seduce a woman, the woman, there's a wariness. Women have much more to lose in a seduction than the man, right? Men, they'll sleep with anybody practically, right? We all know that.
I'm crying.
A woman has much more to lose in that process. So women are wary, right? And so you have to overcome their wariness. You have to create some trust. And if you're an honest seducer, you're creating honest trust. But if you're a dishonest seducer, you're creating a false sense of trust. And one of the strategies that I talk about is you become their friend.
Britt, thank you. I was literally just thinking and about to say, close your eyes and listen, because he actually is saying good stuff. I know maybe you don't believe me. Thank you, Britt, the voice of reason. I love your measured reasonableness, Britt. Thank you, chat. Fuck chat.
And when you're their friend, and this is a longer seduction, it'll take several months because you can't do it in a couple of days. When you become their friend, you don't seem so threatening. The trust element comes into play, right? You see them as someone who genuinely for a woman, for a man who wants to be their friend. Well, on one hand, it might be insulting that he doesn't see me as attractive, but on the other hand, he wants to be my friend, and it's very kind of flattering. Well, you get that friendship going, and then you inject something else. You start bringing in some of that sexual element, some of that erotic element. And the trust element that has been established makes it very difficult for she becomes very confused. And because she's been emotionally connected as a friend, it's like a bridge to creating a connection sexually.
He's not talking, Joey, he's not talking about, like, if you listen, they're actually making the connections. This is the show. Our show is called Why Some Women Fall for Manipulators, right? Why Some Women Are Targeted. I can't even remember what the show's called. Why Some Women Attract Manipulators, Part 2. Look at the name of Lisa Bilyeu's up the top. 13 manipulative tactics men use to keep women, whatever else it says. Can't see, my banner's in the way. So he's not saying, you all men, you should do this. 13 manipulative tactics men use to keep women hooked. So can we take a step back and not worry about what he looks like? He's talking about this from a theoretical point of view of what to be careful of, okay? So all joking aside, he's talking about that. Please, chat. I love you, chat. Please, I promise you.
So starting off by lowering their wariness of you, their suspicion, by trying to be their friend means, he's not just interested in sex, but he might be just interested in sex, but he's using this tactic to kind of lower your suspicions about him.
Yeah, chat. Yes, Joey, chat agrees with you because you all are looking at it from what you're all saying about it. So what he's saying is, he's not talking about he gets women. He's talking about the psychology behind how manipulators. Thank you, Simi. Thank you. That he's spilling the beans on manipulative tactics. Thank you, Colors. Yes. I would play the chill the fuck out bumper, but we don't like that because a pedophile made it and it's concerning. Nathan, good to see you. Thank you. I love you. Robert Greene is the kindest soul. Exactly. He did write The Art of Seduction, but also some of the greatest books on how to truly connect with others as being a human being. Thank you, Nathan. It's like you heard me calling desperately for some backup here. Nathan, good to see you, darling. Thank you so much. Like, chat, you've all gone feral. Take a step back. Pretend it's Dr. Ramani, for fuck's sake.
I hate to say that it's genius, but it's actually genius. As a woman, as you're talking, I'm literally thinking to myself, yeah, you would trust them. Because in all honesty, Robert, if I went out, let's say...
Nick, I'm going to push back on that. I have been... so you're saying about pulling a chick, right? Okay, no, I'm not pushing back. I didn't read that properly. Carry on, Nick. Good point. Good point. Next.
I wasn't married and I went out with
Chat,
a guy,
you're all
and I was
fucking
like, "I'm gonna go for
grounded."
the day, it's a group of us. As a woman, you absolutely have one eye open the whole time. You're like, is he going to make a move? Like, you're just aware of that constantly. If he doesn't then make a move,
let me Google
a week later, 2 weeks later, and he's genuinely asking me about my family.
Yeah.
Like, I actually completely understand why, as a woman, you were like, wow, he actually likes me.
Yeah.
Me for me, not me as potential object, not me as a one-night stand.
Right.
And then that does allow you to lower your guard.
Yeah. The way to see through that tactic.
So are we getting a bigger picture now? If you're stopped being crazy loons in the fucking chat, wait. Okay. Here, share this tab instead. This is going to fuck our sound, but we're fine. So this is Robert Greene, author. He wrote The Laws of Human Nature, Mastery, 33 Strategies of War, The 48 Laws of Power, The Art of Seduction. Robert Greene, author, Wikipedia. Let's click on this. He was born on the 14th of May, 1959. Jewish parents, LA, went to University of California, Berkeley. Construction worker. I love him already. He estimates that he has worked in about 50 jobs. I guarantee you he's autistic. He's very insightful, very perceptive, and a genius mind writing genius shit. I'm paraphrasing. The laws of power. Each law has its own chapter, complete with a transgression of the law, observance of the law, and/or reversal. I love him already. Okay. Are we okay, chat? I'm going to read his books. It's my new hyperfocus, and you all are going to be subjected to all of them. We're going to read them together. That's all we're going to do in Camp Shorty from now on is read Robert Greene. Oh, hi, Nathan. I don't think he did. I think he's talking about the psychology. I'm glad you're back, Sherry. Smoking. Thank you. I feel like we've found some calmness. This is going to fuck the sound. Let me see. Nope. Apparently not. Love that for us. Okay. Fuck's sake, chat.
Is this attempted friendship genuine or not? And that's a tricky question, right? But that opens up the whole thing of that being much more sensitive to the nonverbal cues that you pick up from a person. Because what often happens with women is that they sense something is wrong with the man from the first time they meet him. But then they drop the suspicion very quickly. They think, oh, he's not so bad, or I had it all wrong. But actually that first instinct was very right. So you have to trust your instincts, and you have to trust that this person that is trying to become your friend, they're giving off signs that there's something kind of cold about it. It doesn't feel genuine, right? It feels like a tactic. And we can get into that later because
I would love to, actually, if you don't mind just giving us a few now.
So one thing that a man will do if he's using this kind of tactic is he's in a bit of a hurry, right? Because, Jesus Christ, I don't have 6 months to become friends with this woman. I want to sleep with her tomorrow, right? So he's in a bit of a hurry. So his effort to be a friend is kind of rushed. He really likes you, right? But he's texting you, he's talking about you, asking you questions and all these other things. but it's all it seems kind of rushed. In a period of like a week or so, he's suddenly your friend now. That is a sure sign that something else is going on. Because if you genuinely want to be a friend of someone, you're willing to take your time, right? So the calculating seducer is probably after sex fairly quickly, right? Or an abusive relationship. So they're not willing to take their time in that area. But also, as I said, people who are narcissists, and that's a pretty broad category, but a big category of the cold male seducer, you can kind of pick up the signs in them. So they're asking you questions, but they don't seem genuinely interested. There's a kind of coldness in their eyes. I say the classic nonverbal cue of a narcissist is there's a disconnect between their eyes and their mouth. So they smile. Oh, yes, that's so interesting, Lisa. Yeah, but the eyes are dead. Their eyes are not.
He said my
When
name.
someone's genuinely interested, the whole face lights up. You can't fake that. But what you can fake is a kind of a smile, but the eyes reveal. So there are signs that the narcissist isn't really emotionally involved. But the problem.
When I'm doing my traffic control job and I'm not thrilled about things, usually by about Thursday, Friday for sure, sometimes Tuesday, I do these smiles. Actually, funny story, pause. You know how I do this at the start of live stream? So like, hey, shorties. When I'm at work, I wave to all the residents and cars, every car that drives past, like this, and kids and stuff. Like I'm like this. It's my 5-year-old wave. And people are like, what the fuck is that old woman waving me like a 5-year-old? I'm like, hi.
Problem with a lot of women in this situation is they're not attentive. They're thinking about themselves. They're projecting onto the man images from their childhood, their father figures, previous men who've hurt them. They're not in the moment. They're not reading the fine-grained, nonverbal cues that the other person is getting. They're thinking about their problems, their history, their fantasies.
See, this is a problem, Colours, don't you think?
You have to look at them and see if that interest that they're showing to be your friend is actually genuine or not. And the face will often reveal that.
That's so good. One thing I'd like to add,
Yes,
as a woman,
yes.
though, also, as an adult woman, I feel like I have neglected and ignored my gut intuition.
Sure.
And so I think a big part of it is we have the gut intuition. We've been told our whole lives, or we feel like we've ignored it. We've told not to trust it. And so now I think it actually is useful to start to learn and trust your gut intuition again, so that when that sort of thing happens, you don't go, well, it must be crazy. I must be crazy. Just believe what they say. You actually listen to it and you're like, what is it that my body or my mind is trying to tell me? And if it's, I don't trust this person, then the next question is why? And I love you being able to give that tactic of look at their eyes and look at their mouth. And if there feels like there's something out of alignment, notice it and trust it. I think that's really powerful.
Well, in the past, before the internet, when people were more social and women were a little bit warier than they are now about men, right? Because becoming pregnant outside of marriage was a huge deal. They had that instinct. It was very, very strong. A woman could pick up the signals of a cold seducer pretty quickly, but that skill has been degraded in the modern era, right? And so when you're spending so much of your time on your phone and you're judging people, they're the virtual thing, you're losing the sense of how to look at somebody in the moment. And it's not just this thing I told you about the eyes.
Colours, that's because you're not a manipulator. I don't know whether they consciously think about these things, but it's all in their wheelhouse, right? Yes, Akasha, we have song breaks here. I have 51 now songs in my playlist. I write lyrics and then make AI music out of them. They're kind of good. It's kind of, I might do Sirens, Macrame. Chameleon. Fuck. I like that.
Some of it I can't even communicate in words. It's that gut feeling that something isn't right about this person. Something is disconnected. I can't say exactly what it is, but it's giving me a feeling that he is not who he pretends to be. There's a fine line between that and paranoia, where you're doing that to every man. Because if you become like that, then you can never have a good relationship. You can never let down your guard. So that you go too far with that. But
you're late to the party. Apparently, I mean, apparently it turns out that I say some words wrong. Taco. It's apparently taco. Life is too serious, but not here. We take these things seriously, but not ourselves seriously at all. Yes, it's not Chameleon. But you'll notice one of the chatters here, Macrame Chameleon, is called Macrame Chameleon purely to put shit on me, to hang shit on me. And is Steph still here? Steph's profile picture is an AI image that she made specifically for my inability to say these two words correctly, of a Macrame Chameleon. It's a whole thing, Nathan. I definitely don't take myself seriously.
You should have, in the initial stages of a relationship, a woman should have a little bit of suspicion, a little bit of wariness that has to come down. He has to earn your trust. You can't just be this instant thing that happens.
Oh God, I love the earning the trusting. I think that's super important versus just give your trust over. One thing I started to do was really start to learn my own intuition and almost train it and think of it like a skill set, because I've been ignoring it for so long.
There she is.
It keeps showing up, and it's like I need to start listening to it.
Not that we have a
instead
Discord.
of just taking it for fact, what I started to do is every time I had the gut intuition, I would write it down.
Can you give me an example of some?
Yes. Somebody gave me some signals where I'm like, I don't know if I can trust that person. There's something, and I don't know what, because on paper, if it was a script, it would read very normal. People would be like, there's nothing wrong. But there were certain things that they said that made me think they weren't trustworthy and that they were a flake. I had zero proof. And every time I tried to articulate it, I was like, I think I'm just imagining it. But
she's
it feels
gaslighting
real.
herself.
And within a month, of course, it completely played out the way that my gut had anticipated, and they were proven to not be trustworthy. So that allowed me to encourage myself to listen to non-verbal cues more.
That's right. It's very important. Yeah.
All right, I want to go on to the next one now.
Number 3.
So number 3, it is number 3.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I gotta reduce it.
Hey, spoiler alert! I think at the end she says they've known each other for a very long time, like 10, 15 years. So he's not just a guest she had on her show. Maybe they've known each other. Yikes! But they're cute together.
They're just so good, Robert. Okay. They're so good. You mentioned this earlier, but you said mixed signals. So talk to me about mixed signals.
Well, it's a very powerful seduction technique. It preys on a very elemental part of human psychology. It's something that I don't think people are so good at anymore. But the example I give in the book is of this woman who was a fantastic seductress in the beginning of the 19th century. I believe it's Madame Recamier. She was so angelic. She was just so pure and so chaste. She played the harp. You know what? That's the instrument that angels play, right? They would be salons where she would be playing the harp and there would be other musicians there. And she was very beautiful and the men would like going crazy about her. But then what she would do.
I'm pausing right now to play a song. So it's so relevant. One of my most recent ones. Enjoy.
Sirens, emergency. White bird gonna fall for me. Stay away, I'm warning you. Magnetic power, danger, it's true. Since the dawn of time, the apple and the serpent, honeypot pull from the first moment, enthralling and beguiling, comes so natural, never intentional, nothing you can do. Sirens, emergency, white birds gonna fall for me. Stay away, I'm warning you. Magnetic power, danger, it's true. Blessing and a curse. Why can't we just be friends? No, you need to inhale her intoxication. Don't say I didn't warn you, fully aware. Enter at your own risk, sir. Enter if you dare. Cleopatra, Helen of Troy, Ingrid Bergman, Angelina, Catherine Zeta, Casablanca and Zendaya, Hedy Lamar. Best if you just look, don't touch, and lust from afar. Sirens, emergency, white bird, don't fall for me. Stay away, I'm warning you. Magnetic power, dangerous too. Over and over and over again. Head over heels, they're falling again. Almost embarrassing, all these hapless men falling in love, and then sirens, emergency, white bird, don't fall for me. Stay away, I'm warning you. Magnetic power, dangerous too. Best if you just look, don't touch, and lust from afar.
Of course, I forgot to play Nick's little thing because it's I'm still remembering. So in retrospect,
Now some music. The supreme leader decrees it.
would do is she'd be playing the harp, and then she would shoot this man a look that said something else, something a little bit sexual, something a little bit naughty. But then it was gone and she was playing the harp again. And he'd be going, what the hell was that? Did I just pick up like some kind of interest in me that was physical? But then she went back. She's such so angelic. She's so unlike that, right? What is it? Well, that triggers the fantasy element, right? The person is a puzzle. And the problem today, and people are so obvious. They're so goddamn obvious. They're on the internet. They're saying, here's what I have for breakfast. Here's what I love. You know, I'm just opening myself up and this is who I am, right? But seduction involves a little bit of mystery, a little bit of fantasy. It's not like everyday life. It's not like things on Instagram. It's something different. It's theater. That's what's exciting about it, okay? So if you're the male seducer, he will be someone who seems very trustworthy, very honest, very solid. He got an MBA. He's working for Goldman Sachs. But then he reveals something
I gotta
a
fill
little
up my
bit
water
rock and
in
roll,
my
a
Camp
little
Shorty
bit
mug,
rebellious, a little bit
tumbler.
like takes something else about him that doesn't quite click. Wow, I didn't know who this guy is. Maybe he's more interesting than I thought. Maybe he's not so buttoned up and so controlled as I thought. There's another aspect to him. The element of surprise that you don't know who someone is what fascinates us about a movie. When you create a character and suddenly on screen they reveal a trait that seems out of character. Wow, that's exciting. That's what makes you, that's how movies work, right? It's the same thing in real life. You create a sense of, you don't know who I am, but it has to be subtle. It's not like you're not Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're not half evil.
I'm all for it,
half
Quincy, but fine.
Button-down banker. You're 95% banker, and you're 2 or 3 or 4% of this other thing. It's a little peak of something else that intrigues, that creates a fantasy element, okay? Now, how a woman could sense that is a tactic, it comes back down to that nonverbal element. Or the other thing is analyze what it is that's intriguing you, what it is that's making you think about the person. So from the woman's point of view, the ability to stand back and analyze the situation instead of getting immediately rushing in emotionally is probably the best thing overall for the whole thing that we're talking about today.
Okay, so number 5. See, I ditched number 4. We got create a need. So you put stir anxiety and discontent.
Well, that's one of the more evil tactics. I don't deny that. I hate to say it because I'm not really into the whole, I'm certainly not into the pickup artist scene, right? And people have associated my book with that because I want my book to be something a little more elevated than that. But in the pickup artist world, they have the thing called negging, which is what negging, negative, where you tell the woman something negative about them. Well, that creates a kind of a wound in them that gives you now room.
My delightful, highly abusive ex, George, lovely guy, said to me once, you have no substance. There is nothing of any substance. Do anything you have to say. You're just fluff. Thanks. I love that for me.
Room to, like, now your next step is sort of kind and interested in them, but they're feeling like they want to kind of satisfy what you were criticizing. So creating a wound, creating a need for you is what a classic seducer will do. So you're pinpointing a vulnerability that they have, something that's missing in their life, and you're going to be the one that provides it. So if you actually create the need in them by something you say, and then you're the one to satisfy it, it's a very, very potent seduction technique. Now, the thing that happened with the game and the pickup artist scene in Los Angeles is that so many men were using these tactics, were using that negging tactic, that the moment a woman heard that, she knew this guy's a pickup artist, and they weren't interested in it. So it stopped.
That comment that he made to me had no power over me whatsoever, because even it was towards the end of the 18 months that I was entrapped by him. I knew it wasn't true. Even the degree that he broke me, I knew that it wasn't true. I knew that mostly everything he was saying, well, everything he ever said to me was just to hurt and break me. We all love Feral Fridays, Patricia Vincent. Absolutely love 1010.
Stop working after a while. But if you see a man doing that, if he's like kind of criticizing you in a subtle way, but then it's covered up by other things going on, maybe feel like that was a tactic, that wasn't genuine, that he was doing that to kind of make me feel insecure, because an insecure person is more vulnerable to being seduced than a totally secure person.
Yeah. The problem is when you're insecure, if they touch on your insecurity in that moment, I don't think you think they're trying to touch on my insecurity.
You're a good man.
You almost think, ouch, that really hurt. God, I knew I was bad at that. See, I told you so. And it almost reconfirms what you're thinking instead of highlights that they're trying to seduce you.
That's very true.
Coming up.
A seduction is you're taking somebody out of that world and you're taking them into something different, heightened, more dramatic, more interesting, more theatrical.
All right, guys, we're going to get right back to the conversation with the amazing Robert Greene. But first, I want to talk directly to you and Time Control Me loves. Go and give Clip Anything, but click the link in the show notes. Guys, that was absolutely free. So
Clip Anything. I think I need that. I spend hours after each weekend with interviews, 2 weekends of interviews, trying to get clips. They say free. It's never free. Get the fuck out of here.
So you have no...
Which is why sometimes you have to be able to like withdraw from your emotional responses and analyze what's going on. Now, I talk about this in all of my books. We're emotional animals. We're
That's
not
what they do, life
creatures,
artists.
despite what we might think. So
that's what they do, right? They love bomb you in the beginning. They give you all this praise, all this reassurance and affirmations, and then they take them away about whatever, the relationship, your skills, the things they love about you. And then they take it away. That's how they control you, because they get you. It's coercive control. It's Stockholm syndrome. Nick says, it still surprised me your past relationships, Lisa. You always seem self-assured. I am self-assured. You've kind of missed the point, Nick, of what we've been talking about this for ages then. My openness, my authenticity, my autisticness, my steadfast belief and refusal to do anything other than see the good in people, to see opportunity in people. The manipulators who have targeted me have been high end. You don't know the number of people that have red flagged out of there. So many. The top level ones, as in top/bottom level ones, are the ones that get me. It's got nothing to do with my self-assurance. Well, it does. Those kind of people generally target people like me. They just do. Exactly. I had no idea at the time what I was dealing with. Yep. You are a unique human, amazing human, and we love you. Yes. Yes, it's like a slap in the face. You try to live and learn, right? I know people are attracted to my light, my goodness, my light, and the people who are attracted the most strongly to those attributes are the darkest people, right?
In the moment, you're always going to be emotionally involved. You're going to be upset, but also you want to show the other person that they're wrong about the insecurity they created, which is a seduction technique. So in the moment, as you say, you're feeling that, and there's no way you're going to get over it. It's going to embroil you in a thought process that's going to make you even more insecure. What you need to do is the next day, you need to look back at what happened and think about it and analyze it when they're not in your presence and go, what really went on? So that would be a tactic I would really, really emphasize. On like a first date particularly, the next day, mentally review what they did and what they said, and think about whether it seemed like it was genuine or natural, or if there might have been some kind of manipulative game going on, and kind of analyze it a little bit, because it's hard to do that in the moment.
Do you find that it's harder to even do that when you're the closer you are to the person? So on the first day, I think it may be a little easier to disconnect yourself, to be like, hang on a minute, that was a little rude.
It's that sunk cost fallacy, right? The more time you invest in something, the less likely, or something, a situation, a person, an argument, a business, the more you invest time, energy, dollars, emotional energy, the harder it becomes to both see the forest for the trees and also to walk out of that forest. So that's why I've got to in my wake, I would have scores of men who I've gone, yeah, no, bye. Nope, bye. Over decades. I'm not talking about this year, although no. But yeah, so the longer you spend, right, the more deeply embroiled. And these people, like George, for example, and Aaron, my son's father, both got their hooks into me very, very, very quickly. So when did the penny drop you'd made a misjudgment, and what did you do then? Sunk cost fallacy. You're stuck then. You're fucking stuck then. I was my son's father by the time we'd been together for 3 months, and I was pregnant, planned pregnancy, and already planning to relocate to a different state from New South Wales to South Australia with him, for him. And I sunk cost. I was hanging on to hope that this would be okay. I turned a blind eye to the red flags, to the very serious issues already. With George, I was already, again, I'd given my notice in my place where I lived in Melbourne. I make impulsive decisions. It's one of my blessing and a curse attributes. I make impulse decisions that are very serious ones, a lot to do with the fact that I haven't really had a network of people or family around me to help me make those big decisions. I'm very independent. I'm like, fuck, but what if I fall? Well, darling, what if you saw, right? This too shall pass. Many, many times I have actually fallen in taking those big rash decisions. So then you're stuck. Yep, Pokemon. Shelley says walking out was one of the hardest things I ever did. You are stuck. That's it. And once then, and statistically, both those men, humans, creatures, are extremely violent people. George more than Aaron, but only by a little bit. The most dangerous time for any woman to leave a relationship, an abusive relationship, the most dangerous time for any woman in an abusive relationship, not even physically abusive, emotionally abusive, is when they're trying to leave. And statistically, it takes seven times for a woman to leave if she isn't murdered, right? So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that there's been any physical violence, right? It could be the first time there's physical violence is the time that he kills the woman. You know, I can do. Give me a second. I'll press play and I'll go and get the duress watch that I was given by the police to press if I ever was in a situation that went straight to 000. Hang on, I'll press play and I'll go.
Versus if you're doing it, let's say, to a parent or a sibling, where you're like, that was really offensive. Do you think it's harder? And then, if so, are there any tactics that you have seen or used where it's like, even if you care about them and you love them, like if it was my husband or your wife, like how do we still look at that without emotion and still be able to identify that maybe it was a tactic?
Well, it's not always a tactic. I mean, I've known situations where a parent will make a comment about a woman's weight, a kind of a bitchy comment.
So, of course, I couldn't do anything about it because he knew about it. But the police gave me this. Looks like with a charger. I probably should charge it. And it had, I don't know how to use it. I keep it in this pencil case. Next level lost. And when George used to be terrorizing me, he used to get this out of the bedside table drawer and put it next to me because I learned pretty quickly that the safest place to be was to be on soft surfaces. So only one impact, right? Trigger warning. But when you get hit, it's best not to be on a hard surface because you get the impact and you get the rebound from the hard surface. So he'd lay that down next to me and go, press the button. Press the button. So yeah, it's real subtle, right? I mean, I guess it looks like it's got GPS and shit in there. I don't know. I never used it. It's got a chip in there. So, you know, it's a real tricky thing. Manipulate really, psychopaths, really bad narcissists, sociopaths and psychopaths, the worst of the worst narcissists, do what they do very well, and they do it quickly. They do it methodically, and they do it systematically. And their goal is to have you, to own you, to separate you, to control you, and then to destroy you. Just for shits and giggles. So it's like, and like, not to call you out, Nick, but one of the most frustrating things that I've ever had said to me so many times is people saying stuff like that. But you're a smart woman. You seem so like on top of things. You know, yes, it's a panic button. Yes, it's a panic button, a duress watch. So what they're doing is, I forgot what I was going to say now. Yeah, no, that's right. So it's like it's not that you're smarter than that. It's not that you should know better. It's not that that can't imagine you. Well, me either. I couldn't imagine me either, right? Yes. Like, I don't know how subtle that thing was, though. I think any abuser's going to go, what the fuck is this thing? Shall we have a song? Because that's kind of heavy, and then we'll go back. And Joey, I think it's also, this is interesting. This song, it's only short as well. I wrote this song for someone who's I had some light bulb moments about this person. And I was like, whoa. Light bulb moments after I watched the Dirty CAA guy, the first episode in this Why Some Women Attract Manipulators, part 1. I watched that episode and went, holy fuck, what the fuck? What am I doing? I'm out. Bye. And I don't know, this is how quickly this was the vibe that I was feeling from this person, and wrote this song. Easily. That's me, the next person after Adam, right?
Perfect out of nowhere. Join now, happy four squared. Serendipitously timely. found my feet. Somehow you found me. Elucidate the fire and brimstone. Refugee, this Game of Thrones. Rising up from utter carnage. Faith, hope, zero damage. Perfect out of nowhere. Joy now, happy four squared. Serendipitously timely found my feet. Somehow you found me. Magnetic, slow combustion, liberate me. No more us, them. Synergistic, deep connection, true serenity. Just let them. Perfect out of nowhere. Joy now, happy four squared. Serendipitously timely found my feet. And then you found me. Days confused, gasping, reeling. Ravaged, slaughtered, basic feelings. Whole new world smoldering, ashes, phoenix rising. Your love does us. Pieces scattered, pieces picked up. Peace and calm, your peace, my backup. Perfect out of nowhere. Joy now, happy four squared. Serendipitously timely found my feet. And then you found me. Magnetic slow combustion. Liberate me, no more us them. Synergistic deep connection. Find serenity, just let them. Perfect out nowhere. Joy now, happy four squared. Serendipitously timely found my feet. And then you found me.
Yes, that. We will play chapters, definitely, Princey. It's a good one. I wrote that the day before, the day after I wrote Discord Inferno. Same. Cover art merch. Yes, we have got that idea, Joey. A good idea. I said to Canva AI art, I said, create me an image, create me a symmetrical image, create me a perfect symmetrical create me a symmetrical image of something perfect in the color scheme of pink, turquoise, and yellow. So that's what it gave me. Perfect. Same, Patricia. It's the only color I recognize. So let's get back to it, shall we? Boom. Not doing that. Yikes. But interesting. I wrote that song feeling all love bombed up. And then another week or 2 weeks with a few more like red flags that I simply couldn't ignore and a few more real deal breaker things. This was a person who could not give words of affirmation. Couldn't. Even that song I sent to that person and said, hey, I wrote this for us. Do you like it? What do you think? I said, it's kind of cheesy, but that's how I'm feeling. And he was like, he didn't reply. And then he goes, I said, he goes, well, he goes, the lyrics really make a song, don't they? I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Wouldn't you be going, oh my God, thank you so much. I love it. I love that you wrote me a song, that you wrote us a song. There was a few other things. So that share screen. Let's go back to this man. He knows what he's talking about. I will die on that hill.
Comment. And it's not like the person doing that has some kind of nefarious thing involved. They just don't know how to control their mouth. They're being passive aggressive in some way, right? And as you say, if it's like a parent or somebody you've been involved with for several years, it's much, much harder to take that distance. But it's very important. Now, I know people in my life who know how to trigger me like that and say something like that. And I do get upset, even though I've written all the books about not getting upset, because I can't bloody well help it,
Yeah.
right? And then I might react and do something that I kind of regret. And then I analyze it. And then I go, what went on here in this situation? And I unspool it. Now, it's easy for me to say that because I've been doing this for years. It's why I write books. I understand that having
Literally,
a distance
Joey.
when a parent says a comment that's kind of biting or cruel, it's very hard to like the next day to think about that and see. But in general, I try to promote this philosophy that what people do to you is not personal. Now, people have a very hard time with that going, well, what do you mean it's not personal, Robert? Well, what I mean by that is when somebody says something malicious or cruel or bitchy, they're not really aiming it at you. They're having problems from their own past. They're aiming.
I always say that what the stuff that the pedo pirate said about me and what everybody said about me just makes them look shitty, right? We started with swimming in the petty, didn't we? I think we did. It says way more about them than it does about you. Same as when people treat you a certain way. Same as when someone doesn't smile back at you or wave back at me when I wave. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, you're having a bad day. That's not on me. Like, let them.
They're aiming it at their parent. They're aiming it at a sibling. They're aiming it at a previous boyfriend or girlfriend. They're aiming it at a colleague that at work that did something to them. It really isn't personal about you in particular. It's about them and their problems. So if you take the angle that I'm not going to get emotionally involved with this because
Thank you,
it really has
Princey.
nothing to do with me, that is an incredibly liberating thing to develop. I'm not saying it's easy, but that should be like the end game of a lot of our kind of self-help.
I tried to do that recently, actually, and it really worked. So I got a very negative comment in my YouTube channel.
Oh dear. What do you mean you read your YouTube comments?
Yeah, I do. I read my guys at home. I read your comments. I really do. Because here's the thing.
But they're cruel. They're mean. They're awful.
Actually, not in my community. They're amazing.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Wild Wild West.
I know.
Okay.
But like, because this community is women who actually want to do better, like we all really support. I'm not to say we don't have those negative Nancys, but we've got this community where everyone wants to uplift each other. Now, every so often though, I do get a negative comment. Sure. And so it's usually when a video goes viral, unfortunately. But I got this negative comment and it was so rude. It was so dismissive. It was so insulting. And I just paused. First of all, I thought, what has happened to that person in their life? They don't know me. So what has happened where they've had such a visceral negative emotion towards me? I went back to what happened in their past. What was it that I've done that potentially triggered them to make them think of their past?
Bingo. I'm sorry that you are a hurt, damaged person. I am sorry, because that's awful to live with that kind of hatred and to just spew forth hatred wherever you go. Some people are like that. Some people, like, I trigger things in some people. They can't stand me. They cannot stand me. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. That's okay. I know you can, Princey. You're so good at that. You could quote my songs better than I can. Sometimes when I'm writing a comment back to you, when you comment all my music every time you listen to it, and I'm like, fuck, have I got that lyric right? I'm sure I'm like, I can't misquote my own lyric. Princey will have my fucking head. She'll know. And I yikes. You're off, Nathan. Thank you so much. Wait, my mouse just died. Thank you for stopping by, gorgeous. Really nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Yes. So I don't take the comments. I get comments about my appearance from just strangers, and then all the shit that people have said. I'm like, hurting people. It still hurts, but I don't take it personally. That's on them.
And then instead of fighting, like, I've definitely got a strong backbone, I just met them with grace. And I said, if you just took that minute that you just wrote this negative comment and told someone in your life how much you love them, how good they're doing, could you imagine what kind of world we would live in? And so that's kind of my new approach of that. It's not personal. Greet them with grace. Right. And then the final thing is, I don't think men get this as much as women, but the second as a woman you get emotional, all of a sudden you get dismissed.
Yeah.
If you have an emotional
response, which they won't do, Brit,
even if it's a rightful emotional response to a negative comment,
which most of the Lisa,
you get
better. Most of those people, those hateful people, won't ever do inner work, shadow work, will they? Because they don't want to look. They don't want to see. It's hard to sit there and look in your own mirror at your own reflection and face what you don't want to see and come to terms with it or work through it. It's hard. It's fucking slog. It's a slog. Most people don't like hard work, and they don't like to think of themselves as anything other than the illusions they've told themselves or others have told themselves their whole life. And the older people get, the less likely in general, I think, that they're going to do any of that self-reflection. It's fine.
Get your back up. It's just you're seen as
my
like
jam.
now defensive, a bitch.
Yeah.
And so that was like kind of my new strategy of just
I think
meeting
it's
them
very
with grace.
smart. That's very smart.
Oh,
Can I go to the next point
Princey.
now?
Please.
All right. You somewhat covered this of number 9, which is keep them in suspense when you don't have any idea what's coming next.
So a seduction is like a story that you're telling, right? So what interests us about a story is, I don't know what's going to happen next. Therefore, I've got to turn the page. I'm watching this movie. I don't know what's going to happen to this character. All right, I'm going to keep watching it, right? So a seduction operates on that same dynamic. The person doesn't know where you're going to take them on the next date. They don't know maybe how you're going to appear, what you're going to wear, but the surprises are positive. They're interesting. They're exciting. There's gifts involved. There's places you're taking them to, but it's not predictable. It's unfamiliar. It's theater. Because let's face it, for most of us, our day-to-day lives are rather banal and rather boring. I can say that my life
I feel like it's
very
banal.
boring. I just
Wait.
sit in my office writing all
Shut.
day, right? But for us,
He said nefarious before and I let it go. He just said banal. I think of it as banal. Are we saying banal like anal, sir? Because I feel like it's banal. Having said that, macrame, chameleon. So
for us also in this world, for men in the 18th century, they were going on ships, they were crossing the ocean, they were killing people with swords, they were battling, they're going off to war. It was adventure, it was excitement. Now they're sitting in cubicles and they're typing all day. We're leading these boring, banal lives. Everything is familiar, everything is predictable.
banal,
Seduction
anal.
is you're taking somebody out of that world and you're taking them into something different,
Banal.
heightened, more dramatic, more interesting,
Correct.
more theatrical.
Correct.
Okay, so that means you're creating surprises. And so when I'm telling men how to seduce, I say that you have to kind of create these little moments where the woman is caught off guard. She doesn't know where you're taking them, what the next step is. There can be sometimes slightly negative things.
Freudian slip chat? I'm not sure. Is that his idea of seduction?
Where it might be, that wasn't good. And then you immediately catch it up with something good, you kind of roller coaster ride, very calculated.
And is that slightly off guard then? Because you said sometimes a little bad, sometimes good. Is that part of it as well? Because if it was always good, would it not be as effective?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's the classic coquette strategy where you're kind of going hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Maybe the hot is 70% and the cold is 30%. But when you're cold, they're like, oh my God, what's wrong? Did I do something wrong? Because the first thing that you do is, what did I do that was wrong that made them kind of withdraw from me? Then the next moment they're smiling, they're taking you somewhere else. Oh, relief. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, it's okay now. That's how you get involved on that kind of emotional roller coaster, and they kind of hook you that way. Because the whole game, besides getting the other person to think about you when you're not there, is to get them emotional about you. Even if they dislike you, that's okay, because that can be overcome. What you cannot overcome is indifference.
It is now,
So
Micah.
getting them
I put it
to
in
be
there now.
upset,
Going
which is the whole
in.
thing about that wound, getting them to be
Nice callback.
suspicious, angry, that gives you room to turn around and seduce them because they're emotional. They're getting emotional in your
Micah,
presence.
I got it,
That
Micah.
emotion in your presence can now be turned into
going
something
in.
else.
Oh, that's so
That's what
true.
she
There's
said.
actually lyrics in the
Banal.
song
It's going
that go,
in.
I'd rather you hate me than forget me.
Yeah.
And it's a love song about a woman basically saying, I'm over you. And she's like, he says, I'd rather you actually hate me.
Right.
So I always found that like super fascinating because it still means that you care.
Right.
Whereas the indifference is like you literally don't exist in their lives and they have zero feelings towards
Right.
you. And then the other thing that you said that really hit me was with the hot and cold. I was with, before I met Tom, I had a very turbulent, toxic relationship with a guy for 4 years. And what I remember is on the good days, I would say, oh my God, thank God you stayed with him. Because then you wouldn't have, this is the moments that you love, Lisa. And then you go through the bad moments and then you get back to the good moment. And then the good moment, you're always like, oh, phew, okay, we're back here again, thank God.
The thing about that
It's
is
the
I don't
forever
know this
cycle.
person, so I don't know what this relationship is.
The forever cycle of the catch and release, right? The love bomb and then disown you. it gets you panting along, hoping for the good stuff.
You wonder, is it conscious or
Like Poppy.
unconscious? It's both. We don't realize that things can be both. So that people may not be totally aware that they're doing that, but there's a part of them in the back of their minds that know that they are kind of creating this hot and cold game. They're creating a push and pull. So it's never completely natural or unconscious. There's an element where they kind of know that this is a very effective thing to use on the other person.
1,000%. And I think that I'm so glad that you said that, because when I look back at that relationship, I realized I was just as manipulative, right? He would verbally abuse me. And so I used my sexuality, I used flirting, I used the seduction, some of the tools that we're talking about, in order to make him less angry. But none of it was deliberate. It was all, I had a feeling, I knew that this worked. And so, okay, cool, he's mad with me, let me use this. So I'm so glad that you said that, because I didn't do it deliberately. It got the result I wanted.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move on now to number 13, which is disarm through strategic weakness and vulnerability.
A woman's going to be suspicious of a man because
delightful.
She will think that he's more powerful, he's more male, he's more masculine, he's more aggressive than I am, right? So she's a little bit afraid. Women can be a little bit afraid of men, and rightfully so. So a very nefarious tactic on the male side is to kind of make it feel like the woman is the one in power. The woman is the one who's in control, right? I'm under her clause. Right. She's the one that's operating this. I'm actually kind of weak. I'm actually kind of vulnerable. Well, that makes it, that takes all the trust element and goes, whoa, yeah, I feel fine in this person. To feel like you're the one controlling the man, that he's like weak and he's the more emotional one, that he needs you more than you need him, is going to make all your suspicions, disappear. But it has to happen at the right moment. That's why this is in order. That's why this is number 13. If you did that at number 1 or 2, it's like, oh, this guy's kind of weak.
Is that true?
He's too nice. I'm not interested in him. Yeah. But if he's been kind of leading you along and he seems like he's sort of in control and he's taking you through this theater, and he seems like you have maybe a little bit of fear about him, the whole thing is to reduce that fear. And at that moment, halfway through the seduction as we are, to show that you are the one who's weak and vulnerable, will have a very powerful emotional effect on the other person.
Oh, that was so strong. And specifically the order thing. That's fascinating, because you're so right. I had dated guys before Tom where day one, they're bringing flowers, they're doing poetry. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is when I was with my narcissistic ex, I was like, I just want a guy that's kind. And then I get a guy that's kind and I'm like, well, he's a bit of a pushover. Yeah, right. And so understanding it, you've said theater quite a few times in this interview as well, and that really does hit me. There feels like there is a theater behind, like a theatrics behind this whole thing.
Yeah. It's a trap for a man.
I think it's her husband.
Seducing, to always try and be so nice.
I'm pretty sure it's her husband, Tom, because they've been together for a while. Let me just check. Let me Google it, chat. Wait, let me press play and then Google it while you listen, so you don't have to watch me just typing.
Because sometimes a woman doesn't want somebody who's so nice, because it kind of signals weakness. And so, our sexes are different. Biology does play a role in things. And women may be afraid of, but they're also intrigued by the masculine element in a man.
Here we go. It is her husband. Share this tab instead. Tom Bilyeu. What do we know about him? They've been together for 22 years. Cute. Can you all? Whoa. The Blair Witch of it all. Do they have any children? Chose to have no children in order to dedicate our lives to this very cause. Don't know what the cause is. Okay, what is Tom Bilyeu's net worth? 400 million. Okay. So if there was ever any question that Lisa's jewelry is real, Tom's worth 400 million. Okay. Are we good, chat? Oh. They own Quest Nutrition, I believe, which is a worldwide nutrition. 400 million. 400 million. I can't really talk. 400 million. Fuck. Wonder if he's got a brother.
A man, right? And if your first signal is poetry and flowers, I'm so sensitive, I do yoga, blah, blah, blah. The nice thing is kind of a trap. Although for some women, it could work if they've been in totally abusive relationships, right? And you sense that. I'm talking about a very cold seducer here. And you sense that.
Pause. So the guy, the perfect guy, lol, that the song was written about, sent me flowers on Valentine's Day, roses. Some of you will have seen that photo. And then, yeah, it does make Flexi look poor. He's not. And then the next day went all weird on me. I was like, well, that's a fucking vibe change, isn't it, mate? What's doing there? Steph, I suppose I would settle down for 400 million. I mean, you know what? The funny thing about the roses was, I mean, they were okay. I mean, it was, I guess Valentine's Day is red roses. I preferred my cheese from Joey on Valentine's Day.
Well, being very kind and nice
Obviously.
in the first few weeks will really have them eating out of your hand, right? Okay, so not everything is so cut and dry in the seduction world. You have to kind of tailor your strategies and tactics for the woman and her vulnerabilities. So the number one quality for a seducer, male or female, is authenticity, but to appear authentic.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you are genuinely nice, then that can work. But if you are being nice because, you know, you're insecure, then that won't work.
Oh my God, that's so true. And the authenticity piece is super interesting, but it's very complex because we want you to be authentic, but we still want you to have a backbone. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of pushback for women that don't feel like this. So I want to very much caveat, this is how I feel and how a lot of women I have spoken to have felt. I'm not making a general rule, but this is very true to me and my friends and people around me. As a woman, I want a man that is very kind, that hears me, that nurtures me, that takes care of me when I'm sick. But if someone's robbing my house, I want him to be a hardcore motherfucker. And I want him to stand in front of me and take a bullet. And that is the truth. And so I think that's the problem these days, where it's like, we don't just say what is actually true. And so you don't, again, just speaking for myself, I don't want a guy who's just verbally abusive to me, treats me like crap, doesn't care about me, and still still goes after the robber. I'd rather be alone than have that guy. And then somebody who is nice, kind, sweet, and then a robber comes and they look at me and they're like, okay, honey. Like, no, that doesn't jive with me either.
Fuck around and find out, robber.
Like, we just need to be honest. And that's what I really do love about you and your work, is that you're able to be that honest about the realities of human behavior.
Well, thank you. I try. That's my quest in life.
All right, we're going to move on now to number 15. Isolate the victim. And I've got a quote, even the strongest can be made vulnerable if you isolate them from their nests and safety nets.
Okay. So this is a...
Pause. Yes, so that's me. Call back to Nick's question before. And I said both times I didn't have much of a support network. None, zero, nunesies. Not much of a friend group either. I'm kind of flighty. I'm a bit of a gypsy. And particularly with George, he sensed something in me, and I was already on the out from my family, and I'd already given my notice in my my Adelaide home to move, and I was going to find another place to move in Adelaide, but then it's a whole long story. Anyway, long story short, he absolutely isolated me from everybody. It was very fast, within a few weeks, and I was so enthralled by his charisma, his narcissistic psychopathic charm, and he was already doing all the things, right? So within no time at all, I was so completely isolated to the degree that, like, I mean, he used to hold me hostage. I didn't have my keys, couldn't have my phone, locked in my house, held hostage. I'd get away, like the hostage situation would finish. He'd go back to university for the week, and I'd have to, like, I had to do whatever he said, and then it'd all go again the next weekend. It was just this vicious cycle of isolation and terror.
A manipulative tactic There's no doubt about it. People have their own kind of context, their family, their friends, their workplace. And sometimes if you can isolate them from that context, they become much more vulnerable to you, right? They don't have any friends, they don't have any support anymore, so they only can rely on you. And it's something that is done over time, right? So if you're confronting with a male seducer who is trying to turn you off from your friends, who is making it so that your best friend, oh, I don't think you should trust her, I think she's up to something, right? He's trying to do things like that. He's trying to alienate you from your family. I think your parents were really awful to you, etc., is a very classic technique, because in your sense of isolation, you're much more vulnerable to getting support from this particular person. Mm-hmm. And so one of the tactics that I talk about in the book is taking the person to another country or to another place where they, even on a holiday or a vacation, where they feel unsupported, where they feel a little bit alone and isolated for several weeks, kind of break down that element and make them want to turn to you for trust and support. So if you feel that a man is trying to isolate you in the subtlest ways from your friends, from your family, from the place where you live, and is criticizing that and trying to make you feel like, maybe I don't like these things, maybe that friend isn't really somebody I can trust.
Also, as a friend, if you're a friend, female or male, friend of someone who you believe is experiencing this degree of isolation, the last thing you should do is to know that, to sense or know in your heart that friend is a victim of coercive control and isolation, and to go, she's not leaving him. I can see what's happening here. I'm not going to be her friend anymore. I can't stand it. Because I had so many friends, like sex worker friends, but still friends who literally were like, ugh, he's awful. He's bad for her. He's abusive to her. I can't deal with it. I'm out. So many people. The last few people I had that weren't proper true friends, I guess. So really making sure that you stick around regardless of your frustration over that situation, because from the outside, and when you're not being that person coercively controlled, when you're not being isolated, it's very easy to see, or it can be very easy to see what's going on. But to throw your hands up in just like, fuck, she's an idiot, why doesn't she just leave? Not helpful, because she might need you, right? Lisa, always with the eyeballs.
This is somebody you should be very, very suspicious of. It's a terrible tactic. It's trying to isolate you socially from the things that support you. And you should be very, very suspicious, and you should not give in to that.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite analogies is, have you ever seen like water that drips on a rock? And if it goes over and over years and years,
Akasha, well, you're welcome to come. I mean, you're obviously welcome to come back anytime, but we talk about this stuff a lot here. We have a whole playlist called Psychology Corner. Psychology Corner is called Narcissists, Flying Monkeys, and Assholes, I think. And it's got now, I guess, 15 episodes on this sort of stuff. And you can watch the live chat replay if you want to feel supported. But come on around. We usually do one of these a week on Camp Shorty. I try to vary it with trial watching and interviews and stuff. So
the rock ends up changing.
Oh, we're here for you, Akash.
I think of narcissistic tactics as that analogy, because as you were describing it, imagine you have the person that's subtly giving you these negative comments about your family, subtly giving you these negative comments about your friends. Over time, you end up starting to question it. You start to look at something you never would have looked for. And before you know it, that slow dripping effect that your toxic partner has had on you has eventually changed the way that you see the world and the way you see people around you.
Right.
I've also had on my show a cult expert, and it was a guy who literally assesses cults and tries to help rescue people from cults. And one of the tactics is they remove you from your family.
Completely. They become your family.
It's the exact same psychology. Cults and narcissistic, coercive, controlling, abusive, emotionally abusive partners is the same psychology. I guess the one difference is that it's, to my understanding, not that common for the people who are drawn into cults to be the with a lot going for them and no, wait, that's the worst way to say it. I think individual targets like myself are No, I don't know. Now I don't know what I'm saying. I do know what I'm saying, but I don't think I'm going to articulate it very well without being offensive towards people who've been drawn into cults. It's my understanding that quite often people who are drawn into cults are quite lost and kind of almost consciously lost within themselves, and so they are drawn that way. I could be wrong. I think that the cult leaders and members see those kind of people as being ripe for the picking, right? I could be wrong. But then for someone like me, I mean, I will always be susceptible to that coercive control and that draw of the narcissist, always. Hence the keeping of the pirate flag tattoo, right? I'll try to always remember to resist it.
Emily.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they put you in an environment where everyone believes the same thing. That way, if you go to speak up, everyone looks at you like you're the outlier,
Right.
like you're the crazy one. And so that isolation where you don't have anyone to turn to kind of like, like, is this normal? Is this right? That you don't have those people around you to ask. And so now you end up feeling like it's all on you or like you're going crazy.
And also, as you kind of alluded to, they kind of isolate you mentally, where they make you question your own values and your own ideas.
Mhm.
So their values and ideas now are the only ones you can rely upon. So one of the isolations is from the things that you in your brain kind of use to support you, that you rely upon, the values that you hold dear. If they can chip away at that, then you're even more isolated, you're even more vulnerable.
How would they chip away at a value? Can you give me an example?
Let's say you're a
Hi,
religious
Rita.
person,
Hi.
right? And you believe very strongly and your belief in God is something very important to you. And they start kind of chipping away at that about, that's so irrational. How can you in the 21st century believe that somebody changed water?
Yes, Akasha, they do condition you to not trust your intuition because they gaslight you, and so you second guess everything. They gaslight you into not trusting what you know. So being really aware of gaslighting is so important, so important, so important. We'll have a song in a minute.
Water into wine and walked on water. How ridiculous. And they're being more subtle than that. But they're slowly chipping away at a very important value that you have, which is your faith in God.
Yes,
And then
Rita.
just thinking
Good
about
luck.
like if they did it in a mocking tone,
Yeah.
like I think that would be even more insulting because it's this like little comment. And then if you say, well, hang on a minute, that was really offensive. Then again, that person can come back and say, oh, you're so sensitive.
Exactly.
And they just
Very
keep turning it back.
passive-aggressive.
Yeah, just keep turning it back on you.
That's one of the strategies about insinuation.
I was just joking. It was just a joke. I mean, it didn't feel like a joke.
Insinuate doubts into the other person.
God, that's unfortunately powerful. So we're going to go to number 18 now, which is stir up the transgressive and the taboo.
How long is this one? There's a timestamp. I'm scared to move it, guys. It's a long one. That's what she said. We'll do a little bit of this one, then we'll go a song in the middle.
Talk to me about why stirring up the taboo actually helps as part of the seduction.
Now, what shocked you about that?
I just thought it would be maybe like if someone's a little prudish, it may be like a turn off, like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. And people can sometimes almost be offensive more than it is like intriguing.
Well, seduction involves by nature an element of transgressive and taboo. So the word itself has this kind of edge to it where we're sort of attracted to it, but we're also a little bit afraid of it. It's like something, it could be very exciting, but there's also something a little bit evil about it, a little bit naughty. And if it didn't have those two elements, it wouldn't be this very powerful word that attracts us so much. So people who are pretend that they want everything to be so comfortable and easy and perfect in their life. They want everything to be good, everything to be sweet and angelic. But people are complicated. They desire the opposite of what they say they think they want, right? So underneath every one of our desires is secretly something else, secretly something maybe the opposite that we want, but we're not aware of it. And so if everything in the seduction was so smooth and wonderful and pleasant, he's giving you chocolates and roses and wonderful, it doesn't have that edge to it. We want an edge to things in life, otherwise we're not interested in it. It gives it something, a little bit, a whiff of danger. It's something we haven't talked about, but seduction has to have an element of danger to it. It has to be like being involved with this person. It's not like my life is at stake, but something,
or maybe it is
potentially bad could happen, or there's an adventure involved that I'm not used to, where I could lose something that I value. And that element of danger is actually a spice in our life. So my view of people today is that we're too tight. We're too like this. We're too
Tight.
political. We're too like holding on to things.
Pearl
We're
clutching.
like, I call it the new prudery in the art of seduction. This
Pearl
is the new
clutching.
prudery, is our political correctness. Our everything has to be this way. I'm so moral and righteous. This is what's right and that's what's wrong. And secretly, underneath it all, we actually yearn for the opposite, because it's not natural for us to be so tight and wound up. The human being wants to loosen up. We want to laugh. We want to do the opposite of what's going on in society. We want things that are unconventional. We want things that are mysterious. We want things that are weird and strange. We don't want our lives to be so tight and controlled like everything is on media, where you say one wrong thing and 8 million people are after you, right?
Nick, that's an interesting question. I think that people who seem to be addicted to affairs like to have a secret, and to know, like, to know that they're doing things that nobody else knows about. It's a narcissistic kind of a thing, in my opinion. And so they like knowing that they're doing shit that isn't cool, and that they're getting away with it. And even if they don't get away with it, because narcissists are never wrong. So they're like, there's no question in a narcissist's mind that anything they would do is even remotely on the anything other than justifiably warranted, and there's no problem with it, right? So yeah, I think addicted to the excitement of it all, and also, yes, risk taking. And that's one of the things with a psychopath in particular, but a narcissist, is that they have this need for high level of risk taking to feel alive, because narcissists don't have a huge range of emotions. So to feel like they're getting something out of life, they do stuff like that. And remember that skydiver guy that we saw in the last one, I think it was, yes, who tried to murder his wife by cutting both the ropes on her parachute thing of the thing. Lots of narcissists are high risk takers and have fast cars, motorbikes, gambling, affairs, drug taking. I know my ex George, when he wasn't using drugs, he had to do other stuff, and it was shoplifting. And I actually got charged with shoplifting because I had no choice. I had to be there. I was on a good behavior bond for a year because of being caught shoplifting with George. I couldn't. I had to. I'm not a thief, but I had no choice. I had to do whatever I was told. I was a hostage. So yeah, risk taking, 100%.
So an element of political incorrectness,
Dopamine.
of taboo, of something, I'm not supposed to be interested in that person, but I am. How exciting. I think is a very, very important part of a seduction, because people are wound up way too tight these days, and they need a release, and they need that release is something that they would never normally do.
You know what hit me as you were talking? Have you read, I don't know if you've read this, or you'll be horrified that I'm asking you if you read this.
Uh-oh.
Have you read 50 Shades of Grey?
No.
Sorry, sir. Pausing to say I haven't. Chat. One's in the chat if you've read 50 Shades of Grey. One's in the chat. Twos if you haven't. Threes if hell no, not interested. I'll be a 3.
My wife has, and she talked to me about it. And so I'm kind of up on what it's all about.
When I was reading, it was utterly shocking.
But that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Exactly. That was what hit me.
So I do know about the book.
Yeah, that's what hit me, because I was like, when you were saying taboo, I was like, oh, well, I don't know. Like, if something's taboo and someone's a little like edgy, I think people will get their back up. But actually, I take that all back, because you're 1,000% right. Because the book, you would have your, I want to say, average woman who's like, maybe they've got yoga and they've got kids.
I've heard that it's very trashy writing, not the subject matter. So, What the Fuck and Shelley, you've read it. I mean, set aside the titillating. Sorry, Lisa. Did you find the writing to be?
They're still
tough to go to get through, but that it was so titillating that that you coped? Or give us some. It's bad. I'll fall on my sword in a minute. No, that's fine. There's no judgment here. The quality of the writing is shit. Okay, yes. So basically, right. books. Ugh, I don't read books anymore. I used to. I listen to audiobooks. Okay, good. Interesting. Carry on. Thank you for being honest, chat.
Still reading.
My thing about it is that I'm actually, for all of my life experiences and my boundaries that are very far off in the distance in terms of what suits me or what I enjoy sexually, I'm also a bit of a weirdo with like even a kissing scene in a movie, movies, whatever. I'm like, ooh, that's personal, that's private. I don't know if I could deal with smut writing, which is what Emily D. Baker loves. Smut. She has a whole separate audible by her account. She says she has a whole separate Audible account for her smut books, and she loves that kind of stuff. She loves the sexy writing, and it's like, I'll do the sexy shit, like, but there's lots of it, but not read about it or watch it. Although porn's all right if I'm in the mood. God, shut up, Lisa.
Reading 50 Shades of Grey.
But it's not only reading 50 Shades of Grey. The whole romance fiction world is filled with 50 Shades of Grey, where the male, believe me, because Anna's told me, she's instructed me about this. It's the hero, the male, who's got this kind of secret side.
That's what I thought, Poke. Shelley.
He's got a touch of evil to him, but the woman is going to be the one who's going to change him. And that's the whole thing, even behind 50 Shades of Grey, where I think in the end she does kind of get him to settle down. So
I don't know. I have a feeling that there is a whole lot of, because I haven't read it, right? The stuff I enjoy sexually, I'm very submissive sexually. So it's not, there's like no kink shaming. I think that I don't have a problem with that kind of role play in the bedroom. However, if I was to wind that back to the psychology behind that for me, I think there are some issues there, given my propensity for, or my my track record for fuckwits treating me like shit, physically and emotionally. Interesting. I'm highly aware that I have some issues there, but I'm not necessarily a good what's it say, sample of that stuff, because I used to get paid a lot of money to do all that stuff. So
that's the fantasy element. The fantasy element is I meet this guy who's got this kind of secret. In this case, I guess he's into kind of sadism or BDSM, but secretly the woman is attracted to that dark side of him.
You're 1,000% right.
Matilda,
as you're reading, you get more and more intrigued and enticed by the story.
Matilda, I know you have a tough time with your sleep, with your lung capacity and your lungs. So you need to sleep when you get it. And I know there's no way it could be this live, because chat's been feral and we've meandered through some pretty crazy shit, and there's been a lot of uproar from me at the start, yelling at chat. Sleep well, darling.
Not less. And he he gets her to do some crazy shit. It's pretty raunchy. And I'm reading it and I'm like finding this fascinating.
So colors.
But then Tom.
Again, I would walk down those stairs. Like I would. I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, let's fucking go. What you got? You got a dungeon? A sex dungeon? Let's go. Sounds fun. Let's do it. And then I'd be a true crime story. Yikes.
Tom, my husband, who nothing can shock him, like he very rarely gets shocked by anything. He picks up the book and he's like, what is all the fuss about? Like every woman that I've heard, you're obsessed with it. So he opens it to a random page and he reads one paragraph and he's like, oh my. He's like, even I'm shocked by this. And he's like, and it's hard to shock me. Yeah. But what was fascinating is that every woman loved it. And so do you think that's what it was? That it was the storyline where you had this sweet woman who then ends up somewhat controlling this very good-looking, wealthy, dominant man. Yeah. And the sex around it is the taboo that keeps the
But wait, does she control him? I was under the impression that he actually is controlling her in that book, that it was of concern.
thread pulling throughout the whole story.
Completely. It's a perfect example. You picked the perfect example of what I was trying to express, what you've been doing throughout this interview.
Oh, it literally just hit me in real time. It didn't even dawn on me about the taboo.
No, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you should maybe read the book if you want, but
I don't know. I'd be shocked.
No, I'm telling you, when Tom was shocked, he was like, babe, I've seen people at airports reading it. And he's like, if I was a guy reading a porno that was this graphic, he's like, everyone would judge me. He's like, but every woman's carrying it around like a pride of honor. And I was like, it actually is. Yeah. Like, it really was this beautiful moment of us women signaling each other to be like, I can handle the taboo.
Right.
Right. He's like, written by a man, no doubt, right? Shall we do a song? Chapters. Yes? It's a little bit longer, this one, but it's kind of beautiful and it's getting late. So for you guys, it's getting close to 1 o'clock for me down here in Australia.
Chapters, turning the pages. Life art for all the ages. Journey road traveled so far. Chapters is who we are. Where we come from, how we got here. The world turns, eternal sphere. Follow that yellow brick road along the way. Release all fear. Walk a mile in my shoes. Not every endpoint do we choose. Roadblocks, fast tracks, and cobblestones. Highways never one and done. Chapters, turning the pages. Life art for all the ages. Journey road travel so far. Chapters, it's who we are. The greatest novel of all time. A story that is only mine. We write our own true destiny. Choose your adventure, wild and free. Find it, bind it, publish it. Work it, build it, believe in it. I rate, narrate, fuck this shit. Chapters make the book, that's it. Chapters, turning the pages. Life out for all the ages. A journey road travel so far. Chapters, it's who we are. Walk a mile in my shoes. Not every endpoint do we choose. Roadblocks, fast tracks, and cobblestones. Highways never one and done. Chapters, turning the pages. Life art for all the ages. A journey road travel so far. Chapters, it's who we are. What is written shall be done. Your story, the only one. Chapters make the one. The greatest novel of all time. A story that is only mine. We write our own true destiny. Choose your adventure, wild and free. Find it, bind it, publish it. Work it, build it, believe in it. I rate, narrate, fuck this shit. Chapters make the book, that's it. Chapters, chapters, turning the pages. Life out for all the ages. A journey road travel so far. Chapters, it's who we are. What is written shall be done. Yeah, your story, the only one.
There's nothing I like better than snuggling up in a foxhole, discussing the mechanisation of Russian agriculture, and listening to some shorty tunes.
Retrospectively. It's an interesting conversation we're having here in the chat. I think that there's some generalizations going on and some really good points, but also some kink shaming. So what one person thinks is what one person thinks is wild and crazy and kinky could be having sex on the couch with their husband. And another person might find dangerous, like it would be considered dangerous, like meeting up with a stranger and walking down into his sex basement as being kinky, and beyond. I think it's true what Colors says is that we are in a porn saturated world, and that is a dark road. It's all dangerous. Yes. But there is a kink for everybody. And I think if in a perfect world, people are going to be able to be sensible about it. It's not a perfect world. Everything we do in life is shaped and formulated by what we've lived through, and different people have different needs and desires, right? Princey, good one. Someone might find anal banal, exactly, or banal, and other people might find it highly offensive and and so disgusting. So I agree that it's a conversation we need to have with our sons and our daughters and with each other. But Colors, I'm going to push back on you saying it's not normal, because that goes back to my, that sliding scale of what one person thinks is normal and acceptable and doable and within the realms of normal is going to be someone else's hell no, and that also is going to be another person's fuck yeah and more. So thank you. Joey says all our past events shape perspective. Exactly. So I think it's maybe just changing our verbiage, because I mean you'd be horrified to know the situations I've been in as a sex worker, a former sex worker. Very dangerous, very very risky, but also very exciting for me. Like I'm going to be honest. Like I mean, obviously everybody, how are we having this conversation? But here we are, chat, here we are. Everybody loves, I mean, not everybody, I presume a lot of people love just good old fashioned sex, right? Good sex, just good straightforward sex, no bells and whistles. But also some people need more for whatever reason. For me, but Colors, what if you're someone who gets enjoyment from a degree of pain, and that again is on a spectrum, a sliding scale. Like I'm not talking about fucking. I mean, but if someone wants a cattle prod, this is not me. Disclaimer. You know what I mean? Like, it might suit that person to have pain inflicted. That might be the only way they feel something for whatever reason, right? So, well, in Australia, sex work is legal. So this is a whole different conversation. Yeah, Princey, right, exactly. Oh, thanks, Brooklyn. Here we are talking about cattle prods up the ass somehow. Banal. No, not me. I just think having an understanding and an acceptance that everybody in life, like the same as like I don't like sugar that much. I don't eat much sugar. It doesn't interest me. Some people might live for sugar, right, and get a real rush from it. I haven't had any sort of sex for about 2 years. So but also I used to also be a sex worker, and a very successful one with very far off boundaries. In fact, that's why I was the highest paid sex worker in Australia for about 18 not 18 months, about 10 months. You would not get this with the young jerks. You just wouldn't. So All that to say, I think giving some grace 2 years, yeah, giving some grace to people, so long as it's so long as it's mutually consensual, right? Which is what Akasha said. Princey had some sort last night. Girl, thank you. I will live vicariously through you. Was it with balloons? Where it is. Here it is. I put it up already. So long as you're a fully informed, consenting adult. Yes, agreed. Often that dynamic is a little off because humans. So that. All that to say, I'm not going to read 50 Shades of Grey because I've lived that shit, and ain't nothing going to be as good as the real thing, right? Oh, fuck. It's in my ears and I didn't change the thing. Wait. You can't see it. Do you know that you couldn't see it? Because you couldn't hear it either. Lol. Wait.
Shawty swing my way.
Thank you. Fuck my life. I got rid of it too. We're professionals here. God damn it. something professionals. There now. That's what we got. Got it. Boom. Y'all have got me. We've been streaming for fucking 6 hours almost. My brain is a little mush. Very hungry. Cheese ain't going to do it. Ooh. Did I go too far? I'm not sure.
He was like, babe, I see people that they actually pleasure with pain. And
Okay,
you say
take
mental,
two.
emotional, physical seduction.
Well, now we're entering the last stages of the seduction where you've been messing with the person psychologically. They've kind of had a back and forth dynamic with you where they're very excited, they're intrigued, but then they're pulling back because the things you've done that they're not sure about. And it's like a piece of metal that's getting weaker and weaker and weaker by all the bending back and forth, and they're on the verge of breaking. And so injecting a little bit of pain at the end of this, towards this moment in the seduction, like, I'm going to leave you, it's over, I'm done with you. Man, that'll be very, very powerful because there's been so much pleasure, so much excitement, so much interest involved that at that moment that you're going to pull back or that you do something kind of heartless is going to have a devastating effect on the other person. So I'm being the evil seducer now here, but giving that back and forth dynamic where you're leading them along, where it's very fun, it's pleasurable, exciting, but there are moments of doubt and pain, it really is what hooks the other person and gets them completely in your grasp. So if everything is pleasurable, it's not going to have the emotional impact. And if you put in, particularly near the end, these little doses of pain.
I really think it's important that you said at the end, because I think you're right, going back to the other ones. Like if you did at the beginning, you're like, well, this is an asshole, like I'm not seeing them again, and then you'd never see them again if it's a relationship.
Exactly, Lisa.
But doing it when you feel loved, when maybe,
like I always say when someone's like, what the fuck were you doing with a guy like that? I'm like, I didn't fall in love with an asshole. I didn't fall in love with the guy that we saw at the end or after the end. If you know, you know. I fell in love with the persona, or I fell for what was presented to me in the beginning.
maybe you feel like you can trust them, you've been vulnerable with them, and then they do the pain, like that the back and forth is so true, and it kind of then goes into the other point that you made about.
But then also, then the good stuff feels even better, doesn't it? When there's bad and good emotionally, it's a dance.
The confusion, right? Where it's like making them confused, where it's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh my God, this hurts. This is amazing. This hurts.
Yeah, well, I mean, to me, I don't know if this is going to sound too weird, but an orgasm is a kind of mix of that.
Oh, no, you're right.
An orgasm is so pleasurable, it almost hurts.
Mm-hmm.
In French, they call it le petit mort, the little death. There's almost a sense of, it's too much. It's almost like I'm having a heart attack, but it's so fucking pleasurable, right? And so in the orgasm itself, which is the end goal, perhaps in a seduction, this is kind of like a little mini orgasm where there's both that sense of this is so much fun, but it's also kind of a bit unpleasant. Kind of mimics that sensation, if I'm not being too theoretical here.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, actually. Okay, we're going to move on now to number 21. Give them space to fall. The pursuer is pursued.
If you're pursuing someone so much, right? It's almost like it's getting too predictable here. And the sense of being constantly chased and the sense of pursued is tiring. It's also a little bit frightening. And it's also like, where is this all ending, right? It's going too much like you're in control of everything. If you take a step back, you're the one pursuing her, and now you step back and you don't call her as much, and you're doing your work and you're not so interested in her, suddenly she's going to have to pursue you because you've got your hooks in her so deeply. And the moment you've created the space, because think of it spatially, you're after her, it's like this, you're after her, and then you pull back. Now there's a space between you two. That space is where she's going to fall. And that's what I mean by it. So you've pulled back, and now she's going to pursue you because she doesn't want to lose it. It's been so interesting and so pleasurable. And she's so used to this dynamic that she's now going to turn around. The moment she pursues you in any way, it's over. You've seduced her. That's it.
Right,
So
Natasha?
it's got to be timed right. We're very near the end of our seduction here, because that literally means to fall, and we're like falling in love. So this is a book about getting people to love you. It's not a book about just having sex. It's all psychological. And literally falling in love is you can't control it, you're falling. So you're giving them space for them to fall, because if you're pursuing them, they're just backing up, but you want them to go like that.
I interviewed a CIA spy, and part of his techniques is to be able to convince someone to trust them and to love, right? To take their secrets. And he says that the thing that you need to do is they need to trust you, because people don't necessarily fall into love, they actually fall into trust. And it's the trust that they perceive as love. And I found that always fascinating.
Wow.
So we got number 23. So that was the last one I went to. Master the art of the bold move.
This is the end of it, the end game, which could be sex or whatever it is that you're after. Okay. But the problem that a man will have in this situation is he's so worried that he's going to offend the woman, that she's going to think that all he wants is sex. He's trying to be nice. And so he's reluctant to take the last step. Right? But then to the woman, that signals, you've been doing this all along. You don't desire me that much. You're not willing to do something kind of aggressive. This is the moment that the woman wants something aggressive. She doesn't want you to hit her, but she wants you to take the initiative and do something which signals that you are so attracted to her, you are so in love with her, that you're just going to like pounce on her. And that's what ends a seduction. That's what's powerful. That's what moves the other person. But the fact that you're hesitating ruins the whole effect. So at the very last moment, it's your boldness that will consummate it. It's the boldness that in this situation, the woman actually wants.
Okay, so you wrote those. Oh my God, they're so powerful. And then you do a fourth one, which 24, which is kind of, you said the after effects. So beware of the after effects. What are the after effects?
Well, let's take it from, since this is your audience is female, let's take it from the woman's point of view. The man has been doing all of these things that have quite honestly require some effort, right? He's put, if it's been over the course of a couple months, let's just give it a little bit of time. We're not doing one of those pick up in a bar 3-day kind of things. It's been a couple months. He's been working at it, right? He's been doing these things. He's been taking you out here. He's been buying you things. You're also doing things as well. I'm not saying it's totally one-sided, but he's been putting in all this effort.
I want to just say that in my experience, he's coming with all guns blazing, generally. And it's the dopamine hit. I wonder if it's an autistic thing for me, because I get very easily swept off my feet. Yuck. Do better, Lisa.
Now he's got what he wants and it's all gone, right? Now he doesn't need to take you out to a nice restaurant. Now he doesn't need to dress up nicely. He can just sit at home in his shorts and order pizza in and watch games. He starts to take you for granted, right? He stops seducing. Now, I'm saying in this 24 here, obviously you're not going to be giving the same amount of effort that you did earlier.
Agreed, Nick. I personally got really sick. Excuse me, of being just a conquest. What is it called? Hit and run. Work harder, do better. But
earlier on, that would be exhausting. A couple that like you has lasted 22 years. If Tom was or you were doing this
Excuse
for
me.
22 years, you would have killed yourself by then. It'd be too much. No, you have to keep seducing a little bit on and on and on. You have to occasionally do surprises. You have to occasionally take them to someplace
No
special.
surprises.
You have
Hate
to be willing to
surprises.
keep dressing nicely or
Hate.
do something different, to have that slight theatrical, that sort of fantasy element. There still has to be a little bit of mystery involved. If the other person becomes so familiar, then the spark, then the charge between you will dissipate. So there has to be a little bit of mystery.
Guys get weirded out when you chase them, and then it's like you're made to feel like you are the domineering, like, chaser. It's not society is conditioned, our Western society, I presume, just men and women since time began. It's the hunter and the prey, right? Catch and release fishing. Just the catch, don't release.
Be a little bit of space still between you and some surprise. So naturally, it's going to get lesser the longer you're together, but it can't completely disappear. And a lot of women complain, at least I've heard, that he just stopped trying, right? It just, everything suddenly I just became somebody familiar to him, and all the magic was gone, and all the things that he used to do that were full of effort, all of it has just gone like that. And it's a devastating feeling, like I'm not worth it anymore. It's all over. And that kills the relationship.
Okay, I'd really love to break down the 9 seducer characteristic types. So let's talk about number 1, the siren.
Well, the siren is like the original seductress. So I maintain in the book that seduction.
So pause. This is where I went, oh, I'm going to have to write a song called Sirens. That's not to say that I am a seductress. That song's about me, by the way. Because if you listen to the lyrics, it's about me going, like, honestly, it's nothing to do with me. Y'all stay away. But I had this real light bulb moment where I'm like, I think I've said this before in one of these lives, where I'm like, maybe it's not that I am such a magnetic siren seductress, like amazing. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But in my experience, I've tended to feel like there must be something so magnetic and irresistible about me. But maybe it's the irresistible thing is the narcissists spy me a mile off, and they're like, maybe I'm not that special. Maybe it's just that I'm fucking low-hanging fruit.
Was a strategy that women invented thousands of years ago, because of the uneven power dynamic, quite honestly. So sex was the one tool back then that a woman had to gain power over a man. And
both,
so
Nick,
women
me,
invented
both.
the art of seduction as a way to turn the dynamic around, right? To have the power over the man. So they
actually, Nick, you know what I like the best? Mutual. Just mutual. Just like a thing that just kind of happens. That's best. That's best. Win-win. 10-10. Love.
developed this very elaborate art of how to hook a man so that he would become her slave, which was very, very powerful. And so the archetype of that is like Cleopatra, right? So the siren is the most primal, the most primitive form of seduction, of seductress. And these were literally, sirens were literally these mythical creatures that were on rocks in the sea, and their song was so powerful that men on ships would dive into the water to reach them, and then they would drown and die. So the siren is so powerfully attractive, so powerfully seductive, has such a sexual energy that men will dive into the water and kill themselves over them. They're so attracted to them. And so the siren kind of exudes this kind of very powerful sexual energy. She doesn't have to say anything. There was a charge about her that was very sexual and very powerful. And men...
Akasha, so pretty, so different, so fun, but then they get you and they realize how much work is involved. And they put you in a cage and get pissed off when you make too much noise. Your words are fine on your phone, Akasha. Amen.
Men would go wild over this, and they would pursue her, and then she would know how to keep stringing them along. So Cleopatra, who, as far as we know, was not incredibly beautiful. She had a bit of a nose, and the people who describe her, she wasn't like a classic beauty. She was a master of psychology. She created this theater as if she were a living goddess, and men would go crazy over that. And, the other classic example is Marilyn Monroe. So a siren will seduce any kind of man. She'll seduce the great athlete, like Marilyn Monroe seduced Joe DiMaggio. She will seduce the intellectual, like she seduced Arthur Miller. No man can resist a siren because of that energy that she exudes, that's so primal, and it's so rare. There are not that many sirens around, but a siren is the most devastating seductress of them all.
And I think it's quite a myth, right, that we think the siren is a goddess, is stunning, is beautiful.
No, she's a master of fantasy. She creates a fantasy that she does have all of these qualities. Now,
this is why I was so good at my job as a sex worker. I think it goes back to my ability to mask and to be whoever I need to be for the person I'm with. That's not just in sex work, I mean in life, my whole life, masking. I've said it before and I'll say it again and again. I believe many sex workers are probably neurodivergent because we are very successful ones. We are very good at bending ourselves and fitting ourselves to be who we need to be for that situation.
Marilyn Monroe, yes, she was very beautiful, but I talk about in The Art of Seduction, Marilyn Monroe would go into a bar in New York and nobody would recognize her, right? It was all image. She knew how to use makeup, how to do her hair. Would you take away her makeup?
Yes, Britt.
You take away her hair wasn't naturally blonde, She was pretty, but she was not Marilyn Monroe. People would recognize her. It was all something she created. The siren creates her image. She creates something very theatrical, very powerful, very larger than life. Yeah, so it's not just about the...
I think, Nick, nobody that spends time in our chat, in these chats, masks. I think that's one of the refreshing things for a lot of people is that everyone can just be themselves, in Camp Shorty, in these ones. Micah, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining. Love to have you in the community. Amazing. Chameleon. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Thank you. Chameleon. 100%. I think that's why we feel so good here. A lot of us are neurodivergent and a lot of us have to spend a lot of our lives being something other than who we truly are. So here in this chat, in this community, we can just be who we are. It's the best. Norma Jean, yes. I have a huge affiliation with Marilyn Monroe. I push back on saying that Britt says she was a seductress and poisoned men. I don't know about that. And if that's the case, then I'm going to say that me too, because I feel a very strong connection with Marilyn Monroe and her struggles in life and her internal sort of dissonance between what she wanted and what she needed and who she could be. You guys mask in the foxhole, don't you?
The face. Men are very visually oriented, right? But it's also the psychology involved that she's playing on.
That's fascinating. Also, when you were talking, I realized how much the confidence part makes a difference. Like a woman or even a guy being confident is very sexy. And
Cleopatra.
So it doesn't almost matter what that person looks like. If you bring yourself, if you feel good in your own skin, that definitely has an impact on the people around you.
Yeah, but it has to be real confidence. Some confidence is kind of fake and inauthentic, and it's covering up loads of insecurities. And people can pick that up. But if it's real confidence, you're exactly right. Which brings us to the next one, the rake. And the reason I bring that up, the rake is the kind of most dominant male form of seducer. The rake is the male form of the siren. And there was a rake called Gabriele D'Annunzio, an Italian poet, that no woman could resist. It was amazing. He was one of the ugliest men. He was truly ugly. He was short. He had this horrible skin color. He had a nose, but he was a poet. And his words just flowed because the weakness of women is often words.
You've had a big week, Britt.
It was a fountain of beautiful.
Britt, you had a big week also, and I really appreciate you being here. This is a lot of spoons, this stream also. Been thinking of you all week, Britt, and thank you for being here. I don't know, man. History shit. There's been plenty of them over the years. Plenty of bad women as well as bad men. But you have to also remember that these women were surviving in a male-dominated society. Ayah! Misogyny, man. Motherfuckers. Can't stand that shit. Till the end of time, misogyny will reign supreme. It's infuriating, and I will not stand for it. I'll push back.
Beautiful words, and he was a master of seduction. The rake is a man who's really, really interested in women. You know, he's interested in their world, in their spirit. He often grew up with maybe a mother and sisters, so he's very comfortable around women. He knows them. He loves women. He loves their world, their energy, their spirit. But not a single woman can ever satisfy him. So he has to have 50, he has to have 100, he has to have 1,000 women in his life. And Errol Flynn, by the time he died, calculated that he'd slept with 3,000 women.
Whoa.
And he died at the age of 50. But the fact that he's so interested in their
There's
world,
nothing
he's
I
so
like better
attentive,
than
is what's
snuggling
so
up in a
devastatingly
foxhole, discussing the mechanization of Russian agriculture and listening to some shorty tunes.
I'm just playing it for the agriculture, not the tunes.
attracted to the woman. And he's so confident in himself. He's got this kind of male energy. He's like a tiger. He just knows who he is. And I'll just leave with one quote. There was a woman who was seduced by Errol Flynn, who was probably one of the greatest male seducers ever. And she said, sitting next to him was like having drunk 5 martinis. Me, I felt like so relaxed in his presence because he made me feel so relaxed by his confidence that I felt drunk without even having drunk anything because of his confidence.
Yeah, you call the rake the bad boy is what I've got in my note.
Yeah, he is. He is a bad boy. He's like Lord Byron. He's slept with his sister. He's slept with everybody. You know he's bad, but that's exactly why you're attracted to him.
Okay, so that was number 2 was the reiki. Number 3 is the ideal lover.
That's just simply like a Casanova who's able to fill your fantasies. He's very romantic. They know what you secretly really want, and they bring it to life in real time. They are the living incarnation of your deepest fantasies, right? And so Casanova and also Rudolph Valentino, the great actor in the 1920s, these were kind of classic ideal lovers. Yeah,
Casanova's definitely, I think, become the almost epitome for that.
Yeah.
The number 4, the dandy.
The dandy is somebody who's got a bit of androgyny to them. So the female dandy would be like Marlene Dietrich or
My earbuds just died, so I'm trying to sort it out. That's why I'm off camera, because it'll feed back. So I'm still here. I'm just that. Carry on, sir, about Marlene Dietrich.
Donna. They kind of sometimes will dress like a man, but they're definitely a woman. They're not sexless, but they're a woman with a male streak. They're a man with a feminine streak. And, Freud talks about this. We all are kind of bisexual by nature. In other words, at birth, men have strong feminine qualities to them genetically, and the same for women. So we're almost sometimes attracted to the gender, our own gender, in the other person, which is a strange quality, but it's very much a very powerful trend. And the dandy isn't going to seduce everyone, but a lot of people are attracted to that kind of androgynous figure.
Interesting. Do you think that that's because of like the potential mirroring? So what I mean by that is there was this docuseries on Netflix, and it was about a guy that had like over 1,000 children. He was going to these sperm banks and he was like basically donating his sperm, but he was lying, and he had this compulsion. So he was going to all these sperm banks, and so he was
what was he lying about?
So that because you're only allowed to give sperm like a certain amount of times a year, because you can't just populate the entire earth yourself with your sperm. So there's like laws and restrictions about how many times you can donate. And so he was faking it. So he was traveling, going to all these different places, faking his names and doing all these sperm donations so he can get all these women pregnant.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening was there was this tiny little...
Of course, I can't hook up my other earbuds, so that's great. I'll just let these ones charge for a bit. Patricia says, I don't think Marilyn was a siren. I think that she was as much of a siren as I would kind of consider myself. I don't think she was a siren as in the calculated mythological siren that he was speaking about originally. But I think that she had this ability to captivate and enthrall men, all kinds of men, and it was a blessing and a curse. So if that's a siren, then yes. And then Colors says, I just want the kids to go to bed on time and have an hour or two of peace to myself. It would be nice to take a shit for once without being bothered. Yes. Yes, I can imagine. I can imagine. My dogs, I have to set boundaries, and they can't come into the bathroom when I'm using it, the toilet. But that.
Little town, and there were so many of these kids that were his. And what they were saying is that a child is more likely to be attracted to a sibling without obviously knowing it than a stranger, because there's something familiar about them.
Yeah.
There's something that they are drawn to, because when you mirror someone or when someone mirrors you, you feel very comfortable. And so they think that mirroring ends up happening with siblings.
Yes.
And that's why they're actually more likely to fall for each other than a stranger. So now I go back to what you just said, that if you're a man, you have some femininity in you, it's actually more appealing. I wonder if it's because of that, because now you feel seen, understood, more familiarity.
I think that's definitely true. But I also think there's a sexual component as well, where you're secretly attracted to your mirror image. It's a narcissistic thing, right? And you'll find a lot of they've done studies, men and women, who the partners they end up being or the people they're attracted to actually resemble family members, resemble the father, the mother, the brother, the sister. Not totally obvious,
right,
but in certain ways you can definitely see that was a very powerful part of the attraction. So it's not just the comfort, but it's also there's a sexual charge to that.
Fascinating. Okay, number 5 is the natural, who is more childlike.
That's the ultimate seducer type, because you never suspect a child of being a seducer, but children are very seductive. So if you're very natural, if you're very comfortable, and you don't have much of a filter on what you say and what you do like a child does, but it's so innocent.
Britt, I think they actually might talk about that in this show. I think maybe in this list, perhaps maybe in this section of this list. We'll see.
It's like that's why we fall in love with animals or pets, right? They're so innocent. They can't help being what they are, right? So we fall in love with them for that very quality. Whereas people who try really hard, it's very off-putting. They're not being who they are. But when somebody just can't help it, this is who they are. They're naturally playing these pranks. They're naturally making these jokes. They're naturally upset and emotional. We're naturally drawn to them. And Charlie Chaplin was kind of the icon of that. He played the kind of ultimate sort of child, even in his 20s, 30s, and 40s. And it was devastatingly seductive on women, that quality.
All right, so we've got number 6, the coquet that we already spoke about. Number 7 is the charmer.
Well, the charmer is a seducer without sex. So it'll be like someone who's a social seducer. And you say things that make the other person feel so good. You make everybody around you feel, it's like high-level social skills. There's a famous quote about, there was 2 Englishmen. There was Benjamin Disraeli, who was a prime minister under Queen Victoria, and then there was his rival, a man named Gladstone. And they kind of hated each other. And a princess sat in between them once at a party. And she said, talking to Mr. Gladstone.
Interesting you say that, Colours, because I think I'm speculating. I don't know. I think some of my appeal to guys is that I'm quite like, there's a lot about me that's quite childish and childlike. Where's the adult? And they find that's kind of that's perhaps a seductive thing. And I think that's probably a concerning correlation. I hadn't thought about it as far as pedophilia, but I mean, we know of a pedophile that came into our world in recent times. And even though I'm 50 almost, was that something that was appealing to that person? I'm not sure. Possibly. Yikes.
I felt like he was the smartest man in the world, But talking to Mr. Disraeli, I felt like I was the smartest woman in the world. And that's what a charmer is. He makes you feel like you are the star. You are the most wonderful person, not him or her, but you. All the attention is on you. And he has a high level of social skill to make you completely feel comfortable and make you feel like you are the most brilliant person in the world.
Okay, number 8, we've got the charismatic, who is, you call mysterious, has eloquence, theatricality, uninhibited vulnerability, and adventurousness.
The way I define it is a person who's charismatic, it's like they have a light in.
Sorry, I'm having to go back and forth between muting and unmuting so it doesn't you don't get double sound and echo and stuff. I don't have a stick up my ass. That's banal. Wait, what? Banal. No, but there is a helplessness about me, I think. It's not intentional. There's some things I'm very, very capable about and with. Yes, agreed. A wider definition. He's not talking about actual children, childlike. So there's something about me that I think people want to take care of and be the adult for. I don't know. Maybe. There's lots about me that's very childlike. Where is the adult?
Inside of them, like a light bulb or a lamp that's inside of them. You can't see it, but it animates everything from them. Their face, their eyes, their gestures. They feel like they're lit up from within, and it's very powerful. They have this confidence and this energy. I talk in there about John F. Kennedy, who had charisma, and I talk about Marilyn Monroe, who was a charismatic. And the thing about people with deep levels of charisma, and I worked with 50 Cent on a book, he has tremendous charisma, and I could see it in real life. It is very real. The weird thing about charismatics is they often come from broken homes. They come from a childhood where they didn't get any love. Almost invariably, you will find this.
Yeah, baby, sweetie, sweetheart. I'm like, girl, don't call me sweetie. I'm fucking 15 years older than you, babe.
And what that means is, in order to get the love that everybody wants, the validation and the attention, they have to get it from other people. They have to get it from crowds. They have to get it from an audience. They have to get it from the camera and all the millions of people who are going to watch them. They have such a need for love and attention because they never got it, that they project that out onto the world. That is the lamp that's lighting them up from the inside and making everything that they do seem so animated and so exciting. So feeling like you were never loved, but you need it from the public is often what makes a charismatic, that quality. And you will almost always find that they come from deprived childhoods.
Wow. And so as a child, because
Red Metal, there's a generator, a font generator. All you have to do is Google fancy fonts. I think that's the name of it. And you'll get a thing and you just type in your handle into fancy fonts and then you copy it and then you paste it into your YouTube account when you edit it. The only problem is, yes, I did. The only problem with it is that it's harder for people to tag. So people, if they're on they can copy and paste it, and some chatters know that. I don't know what. Sorry, Lisa, that's a bad fucking dirty pause.
because you were
So my handle, if you ever see me in chats, Red Metal, but you probably don't because I'm not in many chats. I have fancy
deprived, you
on my I can't get her. Sorry. Yes, so you can do it, but it makes it harder to tag you in chats. So if you feel like you like being tagged so people can address you with an @ it's very, very tricky with fancy font. But there's some cool ones.
like, how did you get that light? I would have thought it would be the opposite.
Well, it can have the opposite effect. So not everybody who has a deprived childhood turns into a charismatic.
True.
So often you're so beaten down, you feel so worthless that it doesn't have that effect. But you take a strong personality like Marilyn Monroe, who was an orphan, who grew up in an orphanage and had dealt with abusive men, etc., had a very, very rough childhood, right? But she's a very strong personality. And so she's desperate for love in her life. Now, if some women wouldn't have that effect, they would just kind of shrink and find another way to get it. She needed that love, so she had to find it She found it through modeling and through acting, etc. You know, John F. Kennedy had a very troubled relationship with his father. He was not the preferred son in the family. There was another son who was like the golden boy. When he was in the public, he wanted the whole world to fall in love with him. I talk about Malcolm X and his childhood. Winston Churchill, one of the most charismatic political figures ever, had a terrible childhood. Even though he came from a very wealthy family, he was completely ignored, right? Had a very rough childhood. So charismatic figures feel a deep need to get the love and attention that we all need, but not from one person, but from a whole country, from a whole audience, from the public itself.
Wow.
And that's what lights up everything inside of them.
From the shorty.
And you think that then stems most likely from a wound from childhood?
I think so.
Yeah, makes complete sense. It almost feels like that would be a great survival mechanism for you as a kid, right? It's like if you don't have people to love you, no one's looking at you, no one cares for you, and you have charm and charisma, right? You can make people laugh, you can make people feel amazing, like they want to be around you. Now, instead of being isolated, alone with no one, now actually you've been the magnet that's drawn those people. Yeah, makes complete sense. And then the final character type is the star. And you say this is the most powerful of all.
Well, it's the most modern form. It's kind of based on cinema, and the star is sort of harder to verbalize, but it's a person who attracts fantasies. So there's a kind of a slight blankness onto them, a kind of a mysterious quality, where we see onto them whatever we want to see, right? We project onto them all of our fantasies, all of our desires, and they know how to attract that kind of attention. So actors and actresses are kind of the classic example. They're the star, obviously, but they know how to embody a certain kind of fantasy. And if they were too strong about it, if they projected it too outward, you wouldn't give room for people to fantasize about it. But the fact that you're kind of empty, that there's nothing mysterious, there's something mysterious about you, almost like something kind of empty, that we can now see what we want to see in you, is the primal kind of star quality. And I talk in the book about people who have it. They're kind of modeled on movie stars.
All right, we've gone through so much, Robert, but I got one more question.
Uh-oh.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, especially being a woman, what would be the key things as a woman that we can do if we wanted to seduce a man?
Knowing how to play a little hard to get would be good. A skill to reinvent that's kind of been lost now. Knowing how to hook a man, but keep him hooked, and the kind of signal that you're interested in him, that there's something physical, and men are very visually oriented, so there's something about you that excites them, but you're getting them to pursue you. You see, men like to pursue. We're like hunters. I hate to be so brazen about it. We like to chase. To get a man to chase after you is exactly what he wants. But if you're too available, if you're just like surrendering after the first date, then he'll lose interest because there's no chase involved. So you've got to know how to kind of put a little honey in the bait and keep him going and withdraw and say, no. But
Hi, Laura. Good to see you. I think my earbuds might have charged enough and I can stop muting myself. Oh, it's Lisa Bilyeu. I'm so sorry for the dirty pauses. Red medal. You're an easy one. You're an easy lay. Yikes. Hi, Laura. Good to see you.
not too much. And if you can get a man to chase you, then you're the one in control of it. You're the one in control of the dynamic.
So would you recommend to never, as a woman, you shouldn't chase men?
Well, it's ironic, but the fact that you are getting him to chase you means that you are the one in control of the dynamic.
Yeah.
We're so stupidly logical sometimes that we don't realize that things are kind of ironic. Things are the reverse of what they seem. We're too literal minded. So to get somebody to pursue you means that you are one actually doing the work. You're the one actually in control. So it's not like you're chasing him, but you are in some ways doing that by withdrawing, by getting him to come after you. But yeah, if you're the aggressor, if you're chasing the man, that could be interesting for a man, and that might lead to sex on the first or second date. But I don't think it's going to lead to a long-term, to anything that it's going to be very exciting, have a lot of spice to it. So
hi, Curious Lord
keep
Shiva.
in mind that what excites a man is the chase itself.
Good to see you again.
It's what makes men cheat on their wives, quite frankly.
Right.
Everything has become too obvious, too familiar. There's no more chase. I don't think it's going to lead to a long-term, to anything that it's going to be very exciting, have a lot of spice to it. So keep in mind that what excites a man is the chase itself. It's what makes men cheat on their wives, quite frankly. Everything has become too obvious, too familiar. There's no more chase involved. Now there's this new young woman, this secretary, that's just this woman in my office. I get to chase her, right? There's an animal I get to hunt. That'll happen. That's why a man will cheat on his wife, because there's no more chasing going on in the relationship. So, I mean, we're generalizing because not all men are like that. But I think being an aggressive woman can work on some men and can work very quickly. But I think a more powerful thing to seduce a man is to do the opposite, get him to chase you. I could be wrong. I could be an old guy who does totally out of touch with the Tinder age. And I recognize my own limitations, that I grew up in an era where seduction was much different than it is now. So I understand that I might be a dinosaur, and that, but I do think that human psychology basically doesn't change, and that the things that I've spelled out eventually will kind of be revealed, even in our online world.
I interviewed a guy called Matt Hussey, and he's a relationship coach, and he was telling me about how
you interview so many weird.
Matt Hussey is great. Have we watched any of Matt Hussey's stuff? I think I had some Matt Hussey stuff queued up. And I don't think we ever watched it, but his stuff's kind of good. He's also British, very posh British, unlike our Nick. Sorry, Nick, of course you're very posh. Highest esteem.
Weird, interesting people.
I love it. Yes, I do.
You do. You have a great job.
Thank you. Wow. I've been dying and so excited for today. I feel like I'm geeking out like a little child right now. But what he said to me was, back in like the 20s, when people would date, it was about the pursuit. Women understood, and so did men. So women understood they had to give these small micro signals to the man to say, okay, it's okay to pursue me now. The guy would wait for signals and look, and then they would do the pursuit. And there was this beautiful tango.
Right.
And he said back in the day, a woman would just be on the street corner and have like a little like handkerchief, and she would accidentally drop the handkerchief, and she would wait for the guy to come and pick it up, and you'd be like, oh, thank you so much. That was how we were back then, and we've just lost that art form. So I think that the psychology of it is a completely
Sorry, Nick.
Now look, I could be old too.
Sorry, Colonel.
I'm 45 and been married for 22 years. But I truly believe that psychology is exactly the same.
It's a very confusing time to be a man. What is masculinity? What does it mean to be, a man in the 21st? What are our icons? What are our...
Red medal, that's awesome. I love that. How are you feeling? Welcome. Congratulations. I love that for you. Same. You got a good high score. You're highly autistic. I love that. Same.
Ideals. But the idea of being able to trot out your energy, your testosterone, your masculine energy, and to chase a woman and to have it end in a seduction and in sex is as primal as it gets. And that is not going away. In 2,000 years, in 10,000 years, I don't care. But however we evolve, that is who we are. So these things don't change.
And I think women, I'm going to also echo that, women always want to feel wanted.
Yeah.
And I don't think that has ever changed. And so I think even in the pursuit, it's like if a guy's pursuing you, it makes you feel wanted.
Yeah.
And I do worry. Now, look, I'm a woman who's in business, who's built multiple businesses with my husband. So I want to caveat that and still say that as a woman, I like crushing it in business, but I still love being soft and safe in my husband's arms. And I do also worry for the female younger generation that it's all about be your own girl, you don't need a man, screw them. And the truth is that no, you don't need a man, but if you want one, that's beautiful. And how, as women, the thing that I try to talk a lot about is how do we ebb and flow in our masculinity and our femininity. And for me, it's when I have to make hard decisions. I have to make hard decisions. I go into my masculine energy, if you will. And I have to be just business oriented. But when I go home with my husband, I want to bring in that feminine energy. And I worry that we're not talking about both and that people now feel like they have to be one or the other.
Well, the thing is, one thing to keep in mind is being in a relationship with a woman from the man's point of view actually feminizes a man. And being in a relationship from the woman with the man actually makes a woman more masculine. The trait of the other gender kind of rubs off on you, and that quality, that interaction has a dissolving effect. So if women say, I don't want to be interested in men, I've had enough of them, screw them. They're just going to feed toxic masculinity and make it worse and worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
The power you have over men is by relating to them, by bringing your world into them, by locking them into a relationship where they learn how to be in a relationship, they learn how to care, they learn how to be empathetic. You're feminizing them. So your desire to get away from them is going to have the opposite effect that you want. You're going to make men, the qualities that you don't like in men, even worse.
Is that what you've then seen in culture, where we're becoming even more bifurcated because that's happening on both sides?
Yeah, well, that's this thing I think is very new right now, particularly after the election. I'm hearing that there are these memes about, I've had enough of men, I'm quitting on men, no more men in my life kind of thing, which seems kind of ridiculous to me. First of all, to generalize that all men are like that. But also I think it's going to have the opposite effect of what you desire. It's going to make it worse, right? You're going to have more of those qualities that upset you about them, their lack of empathy, their lack of interest in your world, they're not caring about what it means to be a woman and your problems with your own bodies, etc. You're going to make all that stuff worse by isolating them, by not being interested in them. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Robert, this has been my dream come true. Like I said, I've known you.
It sounds like you've.
Patricia, I think she was talking about in their 20s, like when she was in her 20s and young women. I don't know these days if that would be the case, if that's what you mean. I don't think she meant in the 20s, the 1920s. I think she meant in one's 20s.
You've had all these other amazing guests.
Yes, but no Robert Greene. Like, we've known each other for how long now?
12 years ago.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Well,
when did he start having his show back in that studio in some weird place? And
it was probably 2014. I wonder if you're right. 2014.
You sure it wasn't earlier?
No.
All right. Well, I was one of the first guests. I think so.
Oh my God, Robert.
Okay, so Lisa's been going for 11 years and she's got 1.43 million subscribers. Wait, let me check that. 1.34 million. My bad. So giving me 11 years, chat. Yikes, I better fucking sort my shit out. I bet you she didn't do the random unprofessional shit I do. Maybe she did.
Robert, we've known each other for so long.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine, for me, having read your work, having followed you, love who you are, what you stand for.
Very itchy.
You're seducing me.
I learned from the best. I have a book that I read that taught me everything. No, in all seriousness.
What have I done? Fuck.
I freaking adore you, and this has been a dream come true, and this has honestly been so amazing. Your work, your writing is phenomenal. So if anyone wants to keep following you, where should they go?
Well,
yes.
I believe I have.
No, you're right.
I don't know if the.
We can put the link in the description.
I think it's still called powerseductionandwar.com. But
I don't know what I did with the screen. Sorry.
That was my old website back in the early 2000s, if you can believe. I think that still exists.
They were supposed to get married, but I think she has got a point. It wasn't just arranged marriages. People still fell in love, and there was still this. It was a different time. Like, I would agree with that. Yes, people did get married, but they weren't just marrying any old person. I mean, some were.
Exists, and that'll have links to everything that you would need.
I do not know what I did to the screen.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
What did I do?
If you want to learn how to seduce and influence anyone in...
No, I don't want to, Lisa. But if you do, there we go. Men desire women who? Wow. How to seduce and influence him. Let's listen to that bumper. Wow.
Any situation, then click here right now.
I'm thinking inside, ¿te gusta? Do you like it? Do you like what you see? Because here I am, all this gorgeousness and all of this that I believe.
Yikes. Another
Seduction.
time. We made it, chat. We actually made it to the end. I didn't stop it at the end because oh, thanks, Red Metal. That's really kind of you. Rising seas lift all ships and all that. We made it, chat. We made it. Joey's giving me grief because I've only played the bumper for Nick's music. No, my music, Nick's bumper once, and it was not even for music. Strongly agree. Laura says, but I will play another song and I'll remember to play the bumper. I found there was a huge difference between making people feel wanted versus making them feel needed in the beginning of our relationship. It set ground rules. Right. Yes. Thank you. Wow, that lady ego. What does that mean? I mean, I use tissues. So, yeah, I don't know. You were right. I miss because you guys hear it like 30 seconds or whatever the difference is. Sometimes what you say in chat, my brain's moved on already. So that you were right, Patricia and Akasha. I was wrong, definitely. Ah, yes. I mean, got to toot your own horn, Joey. No one else will. And that lady was definitely tooting it. Maybe she's a siren. Maybe she gets what she maybe. Do you want a song? And I promise I'll play the thing. Here, I'll play it now because I'll forget otherwise. This one.
Now some music. The Supreme Leader decrees it.
Let me think. What about bookends or this too shall pass? Or I'm thinking something soothing, not something crazy. Unless you want crazy bookends. Hubris. What about we do hubris and then maybe bookends? I haven't played it. Wait, I'll play it again. That because I'm behind on my Nick bumpers.
Now some music.
I played it already.
Supreme Leader decrees it.
I do decree it. That. Where is it? This.
Comes now, what you hiding? Comes now, what you got? Ooh. Black holes on your secret sliding, character is shot. Ooh. Sit right back, rest on your laurels, proof is in the pudding. Suddenly you all fired up, next you come out swinging. Clarity, blindness, kill 'em with kindness, build high, hard they fall. Hubris, who disintegrity, kiss the lunacy of it all. Darling of the internet, self-proclaiming cunt. Hedged your bets until you didn't. Scroll becomes a run. In sheets, clothing, smiling, gloating, fake one like a mask. Calculated, saturated, sharpened for the task. Clarity, blindness, kill with kindness, build high, hard they fall. Hubris, who disintegrity, kiss the lunacy of it all. Accusations, all confessions, fingers point at thee, ducking, weaving, heavy breathing, pure skullduggery. Clarity, blindness, kill with kindness, build high, hard they fall. Hubris, who disintegrity, kiss the lunacy of it all. Take a breath, take a bow, serenity now, what the fuck? Clarity, blindness, kill with kindness, build high, hard they fall. Hubris, who disintegrity, kiss the lunacy of it all. But are you okay? No, seriously, you good?
I hope he's all right. That one. So, maybe at rehab or something. Yikes! Yes, I love that one. My point was that women, yes, Patricia, you're right. You're right. Didn't have a lot of choices back then. Just got the vote. Finances controlled by their fathers and husbands. Yes, agreed. I also said while you were checking back on the stream that all those things are 100% true. But also there was still love then. It's not like they were all arranged marriages. There was still some level of decorum and stuff. Always love the interludes. Thank you. Shall we play another one? I'm in a mood now for some music because let's let our hair down a little before we go to bed. But well, I'm not going to bed. Before we pour a wine, I will be pouring a wine. This. My fringe is grinding my gears.
There's nothing I like better than snuggling up in a foxhole, discussing the mechanisation of Russian agriculture and listening to some shorty tunes.
And if I'd had my shit together, I would have already had this queued up, but I didn't. So we're getting there.
From turmoil and flux comes growth and evolution. Try not to sweat the big stuff, trying to find a damn solution. Remind myself always, this too shall pass, because nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. Storm clouds, they make rainbows. Roller coasters gonna roll, and life feels like a sideshow. But in my heart of hearts, I know. Remind myself always, this too shall pass, because nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. Resilient, a warrior, I've lived through it all. And honestly, I'm stronger now. I trust I will not fall. Doing my best, don't always get it right, but there is always a sunrise after the darkest night. Remind myself always, this too shall pass, because nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. So stand on the edge, take a breath and spread those wings. It's time for you to do that fucking self-belief thing. No more of that perseveration. There is really no need to stop at that station. But what if I fall? Darling, what if you soar? It all happens for a reason. Please don't cry no more. Remind myself always, this too shall pass, because nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. Happens for a reason. Please don't cry no more.
Yes, that's exciting. Turtle Boy is going to appear on Justice Served. Amazing. That's awesome. You know, he also came on Camp Shorty before it was even called Camp Shorty. Lessons learned there, not with Turtle Boy. Amazing. That's exciting. I'm thrilled. That will be an amazing boost for Justice Served. He's a big name. That's a big pull. Great song. Thanks, Patricia. I wrote that one a long time ago. Well, not a long time, a couple of months ago. It was like my 7th or 8th song, maybe 9th. She is Pokemon. Missy is amazing. Go, Missy. Love your work. That's awesome, Shelley. Yes. Justice Serve. Thank you, Amber. Yes, this one. Subscribe if you haven't already. Our friends at Justice Serve TV. Hey, let's call it. We'll do bookends another time. We've already done so many songs tonight. So thank you so much, Joey, for being backstage and getting all the songs loaded and turned into MP4s and stuff. Thank you so much to my beautiful mod squad for being here. I love you so much. Thank you, Shorties, for being here. Amazing conversation, Nick said. Great conversation. It's always a great chat in Camp Shorty, but these episodes are particularly fun, I think. Fun and helpful and enlightening and supportive and you guys are amazing, Shorties. I love you very much. Tomorrow night, whatever time, it's still going to be 6 Eastern, but I have to work out that when my brain isn't so. I'll be there for 6 Eastern. We're talking to Whitney and Melissa, who are co-hosts of the Navigating Advocacy podcast, and Eric Carter Landon, big brother and advocate for little baby Jacob Landon. If you're a true crime person, you'll know that story. His little brother Jacob was murdered by the stepfather 40 years ago. So they three are co-founders of the advocacy conference, which is happening in Indianapolis, mouthful, that's what she said, on the 25th to the 28th of March. So we're going to talk about advocacy. And Eric has a podcast called True Consequences. You may have heard it. I have listened to both. Thank you for being here. Happy daylight savings. Spring into spring, y'all. And thoughts and prayers for me, because yikes. We'll have one more night of opportunity to go in the draw for next weekend for the pick a t-shirt off the merch store. So fun day at Camp Shorty. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much. Chat is Bay. I love you all very, very much. I'm going to fucking sweep this fringe out of my eyes. It's killing my life. And have a wine. Mwah. I love you all very much. Thank you.
I love you all so very much. We had a blast just chatting and stuff. Things may have gone bit off the rails. Professional when all else fails. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. We're skating through all the tough things, learning about this and that, defense motions, prosecution, and narcissistic twats. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the all caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. Community, just you and me. Occasionally, Buster and Poppy. It's a whole thing, Miss Shorty swing. Together we make each other happy.